March 3rd, Facilities and Finance Committee meeting of the School District of Waukesha. First order of business was the meeting properly posted?
Yes, it was.
Okay, next order of business is opportunity for citizens to speak or correspondence. Do we have any correspondence or citizens speaking tonight?
Nope.
Okay, committee issues, approval of monthly vouchers. Anybody have comments on the vouchers?
Oh, yes, there were a couple questions that came my way, so I'll go through the responses to the questions. The first one was on voucher 311369 for John Deere, and that was for the purchase of 2 gators and snowplow attachments. One is for north and one is for south. They added that equipment to west last year, and it just allows the maintenance, the custodial staff to help with the clearing of the snow. And these gators fit on a sidewalk, so they're not tearing up the grass and needing to have resodding in spring and fixing and repairs. So it worked out really well with West last year, and now they're at North and South.
We're thinking to get, was it 8 to 10 years out of?
Yes,
Out of
thank you.
those?
Yep, the maintenance staff feels they should have 8 to 10 good years before any serious maintenance issues and repairs come about. Any questions on that? Okay, the next voucher is 311392, was for equipment purchase from CompuCycle, and that was for 100 refurbished Dell desktop computers, and they are replacing equipment that we already have that has had its lifespan. So it's equipment replacement, not additions. And then 311548 is for tuition for, it's labeled under tuition, but it's a payment to Elmbrook School District for contracted services. We contract with Elmbrook for special education training. One of their staff is certified to provide professional development and training. So we contract a specific number of days every year with Elmbrook to have her come and provide professional development to the district of special education teachers. And she also does consulting on severe autism cases for some of our students.
And Sherry, you had mentioned perhaps that this is done a little bit differently in the past, and that this saves us some money instead of having to send each person out to be trained individually?
Right, rather than having people going off to individual training, to bring someone on site that's local and can provide the training here, saves travel expenses.
Do you recall how many people received the training?
I don't. I could look into that, but I don't know offhand how many.
Okay. It'd be nice if you could just shoot me an email on that if you don't mind.
And that was it for the questions.
A quick question, what was the expenditure for the Dells? How much was it?
Of $20,623, so they were like $200 and some dollars a computer for a desktop.
So, you're the computer guy, right? Mr.
You could say that.
Ask you a question, you mind if I ask?
Sure can ask me a question.
Are we gonna someday transition away from desktops? I think that,
No.
that we're always gonna have some desktops.
We have some desktops because it's my view, I can't say that it's the technology department's view, that to be college and career ready, you're gonna need to have some sort of access to those tools.
Well, I see the guy giving me the thumbs up in the back, but
Yeah.
you're probably both wrong.
We have
Go ahead.
discussed this many a
And-
time in technology committee.
And I think some programs just require a lot more power behind the, in the tool itself and the computer itself. So engineering and a few of the other
Right.
subjects that require a lot of processing power, that's why I think we'll never get away from.
Yeah, you're never gonna get away from a desktop. I mean, I have one at my
Computer
house.
programming, we're gonna be introducing some more classes
Yeah.
there, and we'll need them for that purpose too. So I'm sure there's a number of others that we're missing
Yeah.
here, but
I mean, I still have one.
I have one, but I never use it.
No.
we're working
haven't
towards the
used it.
watch though. Dick Tracy's gonna be coming true here pretty soon.
Yeah, it's,
It already is, but
well, I mean, most of them are on surfaces now. That's just,
Yeah, but you're not gonna do a lot of coding on a Surface for sure. And you're not gonna see a Surface in a graphic design studio. You just won't see it.
Or in a business office,
Yeah,
or,
you're not gonna.
I don't
Laptop, maybe. But you would spend more than $200 for a laptop for coding or graphics.
Sorry to divert. Mr. Como?
I move approval of the vouchers as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Stronachek, she just jumped right in there. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0. Could have asked if there was anyone opposed. No? Approval of prescription benefit management services.
Yeah, this is a follow-up to last month's discussion. Jeff Schultz from Benneco is back, and Melissa Beck, who's our benefits coordinator, are here if you guys want to come up. If you remember last month, we talked about, right now we're with a company called Optum to provide these prescription benefit services, and we were looking at Navitus as an option. The good news is that we have a better proposal from Optum, our current provider. Significantly, they kept ratcheting up their proposal, and it was nice because they were working against themselves in a way at some point. So, but we have a recommendation actually to still go with Navitus, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that because the structure is different and our ability to confirm the savings, et cetera, is different. We think there's some long-term benefits to it. But I'll be perfectly honest, you have two good options here compared to where we are right now. So keep that in mind as we go through a very short PowerPoint, and then we'll answer any questions you have. We are looking for action this month so we can roll it out. I don't know if that timeline's in this PowerPoint or not, but we mapped out a timeline we'd like to implement if we make the change, and that would be prefaced on starting with approval in March. So, Jeff, if you want to walk us through the
Great.
PowerPoint, that'd be great.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to be back with you again. I'm going to take just a few minutes here on the front end, but then really get to the meat. For those who weren't with us last time, just a quick review here. Our current Optum relationship. Optum is owned by United Healthcare, so that's why you see Optum/UHC. Just a couple of updates. As Darren indicated, the proposal from Optum improved, and I'll touch on that, but just as a rundown in terms of differentiators. If we stay with Optum, we're gonna have higher total claims cost at the point in time we pay for prescriptions as your employees and as the district. The total overall rebates versus the competition is a differentiator. The rebates go to the district, not the employees, but they are higher in Optum's case. So make no mistake, we will get more at the back end coming to the district, but we pay more at the beginning. Point number 3, integration. Anytime an insurance carrier owns their own third-party pharmacy benefit manager, they're going to talk about the value of integrating that and how their gaps in care are closed and things like that. We see there is some, but not necessarily to the extent that they purport. We talked about this last time. United Healthcare moved tremendously during this evaluation process from a financial standpoint. And one of the questions was last time is, well, why now and why didn't they offer that over the last couple of years? And I would also point out that there's been a significant move, even since the last meeting. They moderated both the rebate share percentage and the fixed cost share. So both the variable and the fixed cost share were reduced by United Healthcare. And at the end of the day, you know, their revenue is still being generated through a pricing spread between what they give the district and what they've negotiated. So that's just the current model as a refresher. The transparent model that we're talking about and recommending through Navitus as a team delivers a lower total claims cost at the point of sale and lower total overall rebates versus the Optum competition. And again, noting that the rebates go to the district. So let me just use this analogy. And I think I used this last time, but if you go to department store XYZ and you pay $60 for a sweater, but you get a 20% discount, you net $40 and you feel pretty good because of course you walk out and they say, Mr. Como, you saved $20, have a great day. When the fact of the matter is, you maybe could have gone down the street and paid $38 to begin with and gotten a $2 rebate and wound up at 36, or maybe you paid 41 and wound up at 40 or something like that. But the point of sale is really important, and the reason it's important is our employees are enrolled in a high deductible health plan. They pay the freight on the first $2,600 of their expenses as a single and $5,200 as a family. And so to the extent that we can reduce that cost on the front end, we're not, the first model, we pay more going in and we get more in the back end. In this model, we pay less right out of the gates and we get back less. And this model, I'll show you the numbers, advantages the employees a bit more. We've talked about loss of integration, the value there, but we also there's some additional clinical coordination that goes on in this model with their pharmacy resources that isn't happening. And I would also say that from HR department, we get a lot of noise, Melissa could speak to this, on this notion of spread and everything else under the high deductible health plan when our employees go to the pharmacy. And that's something that your HR department deals with on a regular basis. It would be eliminated here because there's no spread whatsoever. Whatever Navitas negotiates passes through to the employee. The pricing remained the same since the original proposal, because when you're dealing with a transparent model that passes through all revenue and expenses, there's nothing else to, it is what it is. And the transparent model, their revenue source is an administrative fee that we pay to them on a monthly basis based on the number of folks enrolled in the plan. It doesn't change. There are no other sources of revenue. Okay? Any questions so far? So, as Darren indicated, this is really a great situation because we're talking about significant savings to the district regardless of what direction you choose. At our February 6th meeting, you gave us a directive, go back to United Healthcare, see what they will do in terms of sharpening their pencil, because one of the things that we talked about was the fact that they will charge a significant premium to the district if you want to make a business decision to leave them and choose other pharmacy services. So they did respond, as I mentioned, they not only responded with a reduction in the administrative fee should we move to Navitas, so they improved that offer by $100,000, which is significant. They also improved their offer and it showed that they didn't want to lose your business on both the rebate side and the administrative side, the fixed fee side, as I said before. I don't know if you can all see this, but the numbers are such that the district is going to win big regardless. The current, I'll just work left to right, the current Optum annual prescription cost is about $4.8 million. So this is upper left. Current annual RX, $4.8 million. And we get no rebates, but we get about a $300 administrative fee credit, which nets us out at about $4.5 million. The most revised United Healthcare final proposal projects a claims cost of about $4.6 million and a rebate share of about $1.4 million. We no longer get the administrative fee credit, so we back that out. And I mentioned that they also reduced their fixed cost as a sweetener to the district. what United Healthcare is projecting is about a 3.4% net spend, or potentially a $1.1 million reduction on the original $4.5 million spend. Move to the column to the right, the Navitus. You see that the dollars going in, the annual RX claims cost is $4 million projected. Rebates are less because the total cost is less. Admin-free credit goes away, there's an admin fee upcharge, so we're at about 3.850 versus the 3.4 or the current $4.5 million. So we project a $650,000 savings with Navitus.
Real quick, Jeff, how did you project the 4 million?
The 4 million is,
That is just a best guess right now, right?
well, it's based on trailing 12 months of historical claims data repriced as if Navitus was the pharmacy benefit manager.
Like
Same-
last year's activity and put it on their pricing.
Oh,
Correct.
okay.
Same thing,
That's
same
a pretty
thing,
good projection.
same thing with the, so we're pretty confident with those projections, but again, the differentiator, I just want to point out to the group in terms of the models is, you see the Navitus gives a lower point of sale cost, and we're not chasing rebates, okay? We're not chasing this back-end payment that comes every quarter to the district. We're really working towards lowest net claims cost at the point in time you need care, all right? Now, I also want to point out that in the lower left, just to give you an idea of what that effect is, the claims cost under Navitus is approximately $400,000 less for generics and about $150,000 less for brand name drugs. So again, with your employees picking up the first $2,600 of a single and $5,200 of a family, the vast majority of that cost is probably borne by your employees. So that savings will likely go to them. I wish I could give you an exact percentage, but there's no way of doing that because we didn't have everyone in the high deductible health plan last year and we can't model that. So all that to say, again, the district wins regardless and to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. The Navitus is a change. The United Healthcare is no change in provider. So the team is recommending the change to Navitus. We believe that we'll be able to track those savings a little bit better. There's no spreads. There are no answers from United Healthcare that say, well, that's what an underwriting formula and we can't disclose that. There's none of that kind of conversation with the transparent model. The aligned motives are, the aligned incentives in a transparent model are simply this. Your PBM doesn't make more money if your employees use more expensive prescriptions. The transparent model operates with aligned incentives that way. We want to engage partners on your behalf who have an interest in improving your employee health and reducing your healthcare costs. We want them to be a part of the solution. We don't want them to gain from your higher costs. Lower claims at point of sale, I think I've beat that dead horse, right? Track record, again, Navitus is the pharmacy benefit manager for the state of Wisconsin. They've won three-year contracts back to back. Their customer service is outstanding. And I would just point out that the Optum cost savings is all contingent upon us paying more at the cash register. So to the extent that our employees self-select lower cost drugs, those rebates won't be quite as high, and the gap between the two begins to suddenly narrow pretty dramatically, okay? Which is something that none of us can predict because we've just entered this high deductible health plan environment. So, as Darren indicated, we're looking for action tonight so that we can begin to communicate and get all the necessary wheels in motion for a very smooth September transition date in 2017 here. So I'd be happy to field any questions that you might have.
Yeah, and feel free to ask questions, because obviously I would say 90% of the school boards in the state have not talked about PBM services. It's not a common topic, so we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. So have you talked to Navitas about us yet? I mean, from this chart, it sounds like you took last year's stats and put them in their computer to figure out their pricing, but do they know about us? Do they know we're seeking their bottom line, and are they willing to go even further? Like, is this the best they can do?
That's a great question. What you see is what you get with Navitas. That was their original offer, and if I were to go back again, it would be their final offer, because that doesn't change. In a transparent model, all of the expenses that they've negotiated and all the revenues that they negotiated get completely passed through to the customer of the district. So if they've negotiated a 15% discount or a 20% $20 rebate, that's all being passed through, and that would be reflected in the initial analysis, and it would not change unless something within the analysis would change. So to answer your question, this is their best offer. It was their first offer. The first offer is the same as the second offer, third offer, because in that model, it just doesn't change.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Como?
So along those lines, does Navitas bargain with pharmaceutical X for a price, and they apply that to all Navitas customers? Or are they actually going out and bidding individually for our district and whoever other clients they may have?
Great question. Their deals transcend every one of their customers. And another differentiator in that regard is when we sign a contract with a traditional model of PBM, we lock in pricing for a given period of time. Maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 2 years. And generally, negotiations continue to occur as new drugs come out and better deals get negotiated. And what happens is we draw a line in the sand, and we're sort of set in time with a traditional contract in that we don't get any improvements until the contract renews. With Navitas in a transparent model, as they continue to negotiate better deals, that gets passed through immediately, the month that it does. So to answer your original question, their deals pass through to all of their customers, not just the district. And then you get them as they improve them as well, sort of real time.
That's actually quite refreshing. You just don't see that. I
They
don't
have a
know.
yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been in a contract where I've seen that.
Catherine?
Just a couple questions. So our savings with UHC is they kick back the money to us
Correct.
after, okay.
Correct.
Go back to slide 5 where you show
Sure.
those numbers. That's a
Sure.
little bit easier.
Sure.
And
Oops, that one.
the kickback is a set kickback? I know we like to use rebate, but.
Yeah, so
kinda like to use
rebate
that
is a
word.
function of the type of drug, and then there's a dollar amount
Right.
associated with a generic brand retail mail order. So there's really 4 categories, and
Okay.
plus specialty.
So
Okay,
that can change
that can
as
change.
our
As
employees.
your utilization's gonna
Okay.
fluctuate, your rebates will fluctuate in that situation. Under both, quite candidly.
Yeah, under both, right.
Yeah.
But is, the UHC is predicated on branded cost more than generic?
No, UHC.
It's not.
No, it's predicated on both. Both proposals are predicated on your actual utilization for the trailing 12
Okay.
months.
Okay,
So it's apples to apples that way. It's just that the models are just different.
okay.
Whereas, again, with United Healthcare, at point of sale, you're gonna pay more, but if you wait around for the the kickback, as you said, the rebate at the end, you could wind up in a better place.
Okay.
But you are paying more for the privilege of seeing
What-
potentially more
What we're
life.
gonna get back,
Exactly.
what they're gonna kick back to us, okay.
Whereas the other model just tips that on its head and says, we don't care what we get, we care what we get back later, but we're driving after, at the point of sale, getting the lowest net claims cost.
Okay, so Optimum is owned by UHC,
Correct.
and Navitus is owned by who?
They're privately owned, and they're owned by Dean Healthcare out in Madison.
Okay, and does CVS is a big player in this market too as well, they own a
Yes.
similar,
CVS owns Caremark, which is,
Caremark, right.
which is a traditional model.
okay.
Yep,
Did we talk to them?
yes,
We did, okay.
yep, and this is sort of the short strokes.
Yeah, okay. And then the other question I have, and you may be able to answer this better, what do we do with the kickback? Because it comes to the district and not the employees. I'm wondering, do we use that to offset healthcare costs? Do we add that to our budget? Or what do we do with that money?
Generally, what would happen is we'll create a budget projection, which will include the rebate share.
All right,
So-
okay,
Okay, so we net that out, it goes to the district. And it would simply allow you to come in at a budget number. And right now, just to be clear, today, we don't receive rebates, we receive an admin fee credit. So it's a fixed amount that goes back to the district. So we're changing a couple of the variables.
Interesting.
In both situations, we will start receiving sizable rebates that will come to the district, that will be part of the budgeting process. So, for instance, we budget 20 million for your health care, and we know that we're getting 500,000 in rebates, it'll be 19.5 for next year. So
Dissolves into the
we'll
whole-
net that out, yes.
It dissolves into the whole
Yeah,
budget.
in
Yes, it does.
in terms of the budget, what I see those funds, regardless of the path we take,
Right.
is offsetting the medical trend that we're fighting. 20 million this year isn't 20 million next year. I don't want people leaving thinking we've solved, we have the silver bullet to solve that issue. So really, it's an offset to allow us to keep our COBRA rates more stable.
Correct. That's a great point.
Alrighty. And another question I have is, we took this year's claims, or, prescription claims, correct, and added them to, do we add any extra because of cost increase?
The cost increase, so this is a static evaluation based on last year. We have part of our budgeting process for September will be predicated on your decision here, and we'll take that and we will add prescription drug trend to the September 2017 budgeting process.
And does the PBM cover hospitalization? How are drugs paid through hospitalization?
Generally, that's paid under the medical,
It is.
not the pharmacy side.
Okay,
But you will also note that there is a lot of drug therapy these days that actually goes through the PBM side where this is critical, oral chemotherapy agents for cancer and
Right.
things like that. 20 years ago, people went inpatient for chemotherapy. It doesn't really often happen any longer. So, but on medical, inpatient, it's gonna go to the medical
gonna go to the
side.
medical side.
Everything non-inpatient generally is going to go to the PBM side, including specialty medication, which is really
Right, okay. And then the last question I have is, this changes in September, but our cycle for insurance is July? Is that the case? How does that work? Is
No,
it-
we have a September
We
1.
do have a September for both.
I think that's a recent change. Is that
Yeah,
Yes.
fairly recent change?
September
is.
of 2016, so in 2016, just
is when we changed it?
when we changed,
15.
15, we did that,
We
yes,
changed it
we did
15.
that already in 15, sorry, yeah, that's right.
Or self-insured?
flies.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, that was the.
Why did we do that? Just is odd, because usually school districts,
The cycle change,
yes.
last time they said I didn't have a microphone. The cycle change just came about in trying to align with the new hires coming
Okay.
in the school year.
Okay.
Because we had a July one and
Yeah.
a deductible and then a calendar year deductible, so
Oh, okay.
we kind of met in the middle.
All right, thank you very much.
So my question is, you go from 4.8 current optimum to 5.6. Why, where's the $200,000 reduction coming from?
Improved deals, their negotiation, what they're willing to pass through. So today, I'll just use an example. Maybe they're giving us 70% discounts on generics, but they've said, well, we'll give you 74. So they were able to reduce their claims cost by sharing a better deal with us. Again, in that traditional model, it's all sort of behind the curtain. But that's how they do it.
That was one of the concerns I had. I mean, it was great to see their proposal get better and better, but it got harder for us to explain besides it was getting better. And I know that's not a very good answer, but it's one of the reasons we veered or went with the recommendation of Navitus. Is it just,
So I'm trying to figure out, like I said, it's hard for you to explain, but they went from rebates of $0 to rebates of 1.4 million?
Yeah, so there's some of this is legacy decision, okay? So, when the district flipped from fully insured to self-insured, an option was given, do we want to share in a portion of the rebates, or do we want to share a portion of the admin fee credit? And when we were engaged, a few years back, we said, well, here's sort of our punch list. And on that punch list, the first thing was introduction of high deductible health plan, rolling everybody to a high deductible health plan, and pharmacy benefit manager was on that list. So this has not really been looked at since you flipped from fully insured to self-insured. But that's the decision that was made at that point in time, probably by individuals who. So yes, they were giving you roughly $300,000 of admin fee credit. And don't forget, at that time, your prescription drug claims 4 or 5 years ago probably weren't $4.8 million, $1 million less. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess,
You have two choices to share in revenue streams with United Healthcare, an admin fee credit or a rebate share.
but the top line, the 4.8 to the 4.6 is just improved pricing,
Improved pricing, you bet.
new contracts,
Yep.
funny
New
math,
price,
whatever,
Right.
whatever.
so, okay, when we talk about administrative fee credit and administrative fee change, are those both under Optimum or is part of it under UHC? What,
Oh, that's a good question. So remember, United Healthcare is our administrator. They derive significant revenue from the PBM relationship with Optum. When that goes away, they want to charge us more for administration. And they will, and they've communicated, they've told us what those prices are, and that's what happens. So the administrative fee credit line starts out on the left hand in the current model, that we get $300,000. But if we choose to receive rebates, that $300,000 goes away and we take the rebates. So even though we receive $1.4 million in rebates, we lose $300,000. So that's why we net 1.1 in that example. Same thing with Navitus. If we totally divorce ourselves from the United Healthcare Optum relationship, then there's another fee arrangement with United Healthcare that goes into play because they've lost revenue.
they lost profit?
Yeah. Revenue and profit, yeah, both. Both,
At at the district's expense?
Correct.
Yeah.
correct.
So the administrative fee change, they're giving us $100,000 off the current administrative fee just as a goodwill gesture
Yes.
after raising it by $300,000.
Since our last meeting, that was the improvement, yes.
You should tell United Healthcare we're not happy.
They've been told.
I mean, they're trying to hold us hostage to a system that's been taking advantage of us for some time.
They've been told face-to-face more than once on your behalf, by me personally.
Probably be looking for another provider. You can't have
Lot of money.
someone come in and offer us a credit and then all to try and force us to stay in their system where they've been profiting a great deal off of that system at our expense.
This is the very reason why we advocate for transparent.
Any other questions? Other comments? Otherwise, I could take a motion of some type. Mr. McCaffrey?
Move approval of the prescription benefit management service, a switch from Optimum to Navitus.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second to switch from Optimum to Navitus. Any further discussion or questions? Como?
Just a comment, transparency in the healthcare industry is like rare. It just drives me absolutely crazy when you try and figure out, you know, I need to get a CAT scan or I need to do whatever. And you cannot figure out really what that costs. And I'm sick and tired of not having any transparency in this industry. This is like a first. This is unbelievably refreshing to me. And that whole industry needs to change. And I know it's going to be going through some changes, but it's just so darn frustrating. So it's really good to see how Navitus has been handling this. And there's other companies too that are taking the same model approach here. But it would have been nice to have known about this a little earlier, but you know, things kind of happen for a reason, and I'm glad we're here at this point in time, and definitely in favor of transparency.
Well, I think there'll always be a transparency problem as long as you have lobbyists and politicians. It doesn't matter whether it's Obamacare or any other thing, they'll always have an excuse for why they raise prices. And there won't be enough transparency to dig through it. So, and, you know, some of the Obamacare stuff was to put constraints on the healthcare companies as far as their administrative fees. Well, they found another way, you know, through this drug management system. And so there isn't the normal supply and demand curve in the healthcare sector, which is the big problem. If there was a supply-demand component to it, our costs would go down because supply goes up. But it seems like because you can charge whatever you want, because you're not transparent, you can build more facilities, invest more in equipment, charge more, and get away with it. So
It's true.
we've done a good job, but mostly off of, you know, we did it pre-Act 10, but for most districts, Act 10 related stuff by being able to go and bid out healthcare. And United Healthcare was a big help in doing that. They came in as a little bidder and was probably a very effective partner for that transitional change from, you know, being in the trust, the WA trust, to where we are today. But again, it was fairly profitable for them as it was for the trust. And that all gets borne more and more by our employees, especially when we get into these higher deductible health plans. So I just can't see that it, you know, continuing with such a non-transparent process. And we also have a normal philosophy here that staying with one vendor too long is not necessarily a good idea either. So besides the prescription drug benefit, we'll probably end up going through the work of evaluating our healthcare support provider going forward. Yeah, it doesn't mean we wouldn't keep the current provider, but you know that I think this is an illustration that when they turn around and say that they're going to charge us more because we leave their high profit product line, you can tell them we're not very happy about that. They really should make good about $300,000 more savings on the administrative fee side from United Healthcare. But I don't know what the total fees are from United Healthcare right now, less Optima. Is that in your report?
Roughly,
$1 million a year? Okay.
to administer the health plan.
To administer health plan, we take all the risks. It's an administrative fee.
Correct.
Okay.
That's an administrative fee that provides all your customer service, all your certificates, all your support to your team here, technology, everything.
And when we bid this out before, we didn't have claims data, right? When we went to United Healthcare, we didn't have claims data. And we now have all the claims data. It'd be
We have
much
all-
easier,
All we need.
it'd be much easier to bid it out today than it was when we did it.
I do think that, and I think I mentioned this to Jeff, I see this move to Navitas, the transparency was our goal, or became our goal over time. But also, when you switched from fully insured to self-funding, that was in the pursuit of transparency. At least you knew your claims then. The one piece that's left out there is what does something cost, and that's we don't have the solution to that one quite yet, but I think it fits in with that move to self-funding a few years back.
I suppose if they reduced their administrative fees down to 700,000, it might slow our willingness to bid out. But if they're gonna keep it like this, we'll move as quickly as we can.
Well, the board,
This is their last and final offer. It's not gonna get any.
I'm not saying we're gonna change our decision tonight, but I'm saying in terms of them retaining as a,
Oh, yes.
yeah. If they're not gonna bring it down to 700,000, then we really do have to move forward with looking at alternatives.
they call me before the board meeting, I'll let you know.
Well, it won't change this decision.
No.
Yeah, this is done. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel alone. Just looked on that
You
side, I'm
can,
like,
you can move over if you want.
I thought that, I walked in
We
earlier
can
and I
put
saw
a
the
little
names,
blow
and
up
I'm
down
like,
here.
should I, but I didn't know,
Yeah.
I thought it was that funny.
that memory thing kinda comes and goes.
I hear you.
I'll try to make sure I look.
Who set them up initially?
I think Lori done that.
Okay, next agenda item is approval of planetarium improvements.
Yeah, this is a follow-up to a discussion we had at our December meeting about the replacement of the equipment. You can come up to the mic. At the planetarium. Dave Dreamer's here again tonight to talk about the progress we've made in refining that budget. At the December meeting, you didn't give us specific targets to shoot for. The project cost itself has come down from 350 plus to 323 or so. And Dave's been pursuing fundraising opportunities as well. So the remaining target, I guess, there is a funding plan before you. But again, we didn't talk real specifics in December. But the way it stands right now, the project is 323,000. David's raised nearly, or now over 30,000. Yeah, he got another commitment from a local firm for $1,000 a year for 5 years. So that number is moving a little bit. So for purposes of our conversation, we would be looking at a district contribution of roughly $95,000. The timing of this, for us to have that installed done by August, would need a March approval, unless we want to postpone it a year, and then we can discuss it or analyze it further if we would want. In terms of the fiscal impact, I think we could divide these costs over 2, maybe 3 fiscal years, so, or if the year end works out well, maybe we can do it in 1 year. It crosses a fiscal year, June 30th, the construction won't be done, or the install won't be done till August, so we'd have to play that by ear, but it's really a $295,000 question on how you want us to proceed. Dave's updated his budget. He's got, on page 2 is the fundraising list, not including the one we got
Right, this morning.
so keep that in mind. Page 3 is a list of the fundraising letters that have been sent out. And then on page 4, I had him include, this is the document that was shared in December. just to kind of help you get refreshed on our conversation at that point in time. So we're here to answer any questions you might have either on the install. Steve's here on the technical side to answer any of those issues. And I'm here to answer any financial questions that might come. We even have the auditor here tonight in case there's some real in-depth ones to be answered.
Just real quick, what is our fee to the county? We are paying a fee to the county for this as well.
Leasing space.
Yeah, we're leasing
lease.
space.
It's 24,000 a year.
That sounds close. I don't know if that's,
May not be that much, but it's to be part of their infrastructure. We use their scheduling system, their secretarial service, their restrooms, drinking fountain, and they bring in janitorial service as well into the planetarium, and that's all part of it. They do keep up the building as well. I talked to Dale Shaver, and he indicated that they're putting a $350,000, I believe, project on to improve all of Retzer Nature Center, a big recycling area, and all of this affects the Nature Center as well. I brought Larry Cash as well, and if you have any questions about the Nature Center as a whole, he can answer those too. It's being improved in a number of ways, and the planetarium is part of that improvement. So the
Well,
county has
part of that
pitched in
county,
part.
part of that county money wasn't there a sinking fund that they wanted to have funded that we must have agreed to do part of or not? We did.
What
finally-
kind of fund?
They had like county keeps like sinking funds, what they call funds for building replacement or whatever they kind of planned for, and they wanted us to contribute to that, and we said we just don't work that way, and I'm not sure if that ended up being part of it. No.
No, we're not part of that.
Como?
So this started out roughly at about $490,000.
That's right.
We're looking at, you negotiated pricing down with a number of different things, and that results in $167,250 is what you negotiated down.
Yes, from the original, we were able to get them down, and we went back and forth with several companies, and when I met with you in December, we were still tossing around two different companies, and this Evanston Sutler and Digistar came in with such a good bid at that time. I was able to also go over the options one by one and bring them down, and we talked about, do I absolutely need this, or is this gonna have longevity, things like that, and they wound up beating the other company. And yes, these things, I ended up getting programs, Milwaukee Public Museum, we dealt with some programs that we could get a deal on in the future. So that's the positive side of it. So we have brought that down quite a bit. And we rousted up the Friends of the Planetarium and the Friends of Retzer Nature Center and did 10 fundraising events and raised about $30,000. And I believe the rest of the school year as well, we'll be bringing in outside groups, public programs. So I imagine that we'll bring in probably about between another 5 and 10 before the end of the school year, just as part of additional programming.
When are you gonna put the new pricing in effect for the public from $4 to $6? Is that just a proposal right now, or?
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that a little bit as a marketing plan, but I think probably the beginning of the school year, September, when we open up the new
the new
theater.
equipment in.
The new equipment in will
Experience.
give us a reason to raise the prices.
And the list is, it's a nice list of significant donations that have been given. Thank you to those people. The list on the next page, is that the entire list that you sent out, or are those additional organizations that you're gonna be inviting to potentially give?
I sent everyone on this list a personal letter dealing with
Okay.
a certain amount. Friend Larry Nines, who does a lot of fundraising in town, helped with giving me some of these ideas. And each one has been contacted. Many of them already have answered, some in a positive way, and some said not this year, maybe next year. We're gonna follow up with phone calls, and I think some of these, like this morning, just met with the owner of the Urethane Systems Plus in Waukesha, Louis Hernandez. Want to thank him for that donation this morning. So these are coming in little by little.
May want to consider adding the Waukesha Education Foundation to the list, just a
Yeah, that should be on
Suggestion?
there. Education Association of Waukesha, yes. And they're now accepting proposals, and I'm gonna put one in for there. Yeah, Education Association of Waukesha. Oh, you mean Waukesha Education Foundation?
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think you had another good idea there, so. So the Digistar 6 is the better of the two systems that we were, when you first approached us, that was the
Yeah, I
better
think so.
one, is for lack of a technical word.
Mostly the quality and the longevity of the equipment. The prices came in about the same, but then we were able to deal on the laser system, and they took another 30,000 off. And the educational packages were about the same. We were able to use the new planetarium to the new equipment to teach other topics like chemistry, biology, health, things we can't really do now with it. But the longevity of the equipment and the quality of this finally, I think, beat out the other company.
Great. You've done a lot of work in a short period of time. I'm impressed with it so far.
Dave, isn't the Digistar also what downtown Milwaukee?
Yes, and that's a big part
Utilizes.
of it as well. The Daniel Surf Planetarium at the Milwaukee Public Museum has that system. So we were out again today, Steve Schloman and I, looking at the system, finding out how it worked, making sure, it's right for us. And Steve also reviewed the computer equipment, which he thinks is sound, right? Yes. So, yeah, so having the same system next door helps a lot.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Are we gonna be able to do other things? I mean, what I talked about the last time, are we
Yes.
gonna be able to show other programs on it?
Yes, we are.
It's not gonna be night sky.
No, the dome will be able to show National Geographic movies. We'll be able to do volcanoes, earthquakes,
We
things
have-
that come.
They're great. Do we have plans?
I'm researching it right
Okay,
now, yes.
excellent.
Ms. Ranachek?
Thank you. Will those go through curriculum instruction, teaching and learning department before they're shown to kids?
I'm working right now with Erica Miller and I are talking about the programs, the content, and we certainly always review our shows before we show them to any students, but she's going to help with the next generation science standards, making sure that we're doing things that are consistent with the curriculum, so she offered her help right off the bat. Well, absolutely, we have to review everything in them.
Just because Kurt had brought up making sure we show global warming videos, and I don't know if I'm going to vote on that one, but anyway. The two things I wanted to say was,
You don't have to watch videos, it's happening right in front of you.
Yeah, right. Let's have some fun then.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, yes, you've done your homework. This is so thorough, and thank you for that.
Oh,
It's
thank
just
you
what
very
we
much.
asked for.
Come on.
I'd like to make a motion I move to fund the planetarium equipment not to exceed $295,000 and to direct the CFO to identify the best approach to minimize the term, but not to exceed 3 years.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any additional discussion, comments?
Okay. That's a surprise.
It seems to me like this is not a capital budget. I mean, even though we're buying equipment, it's not like we're building buildings or, it's materials to support district educationally,
Equipment.
equipment. So it's not so much I'm against the amount of money that we end up putting into this. I think I would like to have seen more raised from the community. I think we still could get more from some PTOs, but it would be a small amount. By the time you go, if you get 15 PTOs up for $200, you're at, what is it, 3,000 or something like that. So it's not like you're gonna make a big difference by going around to the PTOs. I guess my problem is, Mr. Clark, is that when we talk about this money, it should come out of other budgets. When I look at educational programs and new library of educational programs, that should be coming out of the textbook budget or something. When I look at technology being purchased, that should be coming out of the technology budget. So I'm not really looking at trying to pull from our reserve cash, but rather I would prefer to see this come out of our budgetary authority within our existing programs, because it's not a capital budget. It's part of ongoing,
It's equipment,
yeah.
disposable. I mean, doesn't seem like it's disposable equipment, but in the realm of capital equipment, it is disposable.
So I know this is gonna pass tonight. I don't see that not gonna happen, but I'm gonna vote for it with the assumption that you're gonna come back with how we're gonna bring this out of the other line items instead of just pulling from our reserve funds.
Yeah, my goal and why I gave that wording of giving me the ability to come up with the plan is, as we get near year end, you know, Steve and I were talking about delaying an iPad purchase because we have some, remember the big purchase we did about a year ago? So some of it might come from that, some of it could come from T&L's budgets, and piece together how and where I'm pulling it from. I just don't know what those numbers are at this point. So I deferred to fund balance just because I know we have fund balance, but I'm hoping to be able to pull it together at the end of this fiscal year, at least a significant portion of it.
I guess
I'd
I
like to
don't
add
like
if
the idea of it coming out of fund balance. That's,
If the governor's proposed budget, if we get close to that amount, that's gonna be added revenue that we really hadn't been planning on in our budget process. We were assuming a flat revenue control amount, but if he's able to add those 200 per pupil the first year and 250, I think, the second year, that will provide some additional funding in our budget to cover some of this as well, that we hadn't really planned on.
well, we have a pretty sizable technology budget. I mean, our technology
Yeah.
budget is, well, we have a technology guy here, but it's about how much?
3 million?
Yeah, I would say around 3 million, but I couldn't be sure.
I mean, if you're
Don't know the
spreading it
exact-
over 2 years, you should be able to pull it out of technology, 150,000 a year without much of a problem.
That their potential, but I think, again, too, we'll have some additional funding that we hadn't really anticipated when Darren had started the budget forecast, so.
I mean, we have two very highly competent people dealing with the technology budget, and our technology leader and our financial leader, that we should be able to figure out how to get this out of the technology budget.
Yeah,
easy.
next month's agenda will be, I'll be presenting the long-range budget forecast. I've delayed it a little bit to see what was happening at the state level, rather than throwing out a number and having it change on me. But also, part of that will be a year-end projection, and I think I'll be able to more clearly answer that question of some of the sources to fund it and address your
So
concern.
if I hate making motions and not getting a second, but if I amended the motion that it'd come out of the technology budget, that these funds would come out of the technology budget, would that be a viable thing?
My world, yes. It's a good thing you came tonight, Steve. But based on our iPad conversation, I think that we might be able to make that work.
I move to amend the motion that these funds come out of the technology budget. Get a second?
Maybe. I wanted a
Think it
little bit of
through.
clarity, but there's a motion on the floor, so. I'll second it for, I'd like to,
Yeah.
Second, so we can get to
Continue.
clarity?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So
clarity.
there's a portion of it that is perhaps coming out of T&L. So, I guess, could we maybe make an amendment to the amendment that would make it flexible enough so that it might not just all be the technology budget, but it
Okay.
could- any current programs essentially?
Well, T&L and,
I think those are the two most appropriate, yep.
More than likely, that's where it'd come from
so I
anyways.
will amend my motion to reflect T&L and technology.
And I'll second that too.
And keep in mind, those budgets aren't finally as yet, so there is some opportunity to make that work for,
Yeah, but
Sides of this.
you're hearing the intent of the motion is to not
Right.
pull it out of fund balance. you
No,
know,
I
try to
understand that.
Pull it from
right,
existing.
right. No, and that's my point too, is I don't think we would even have to do that, but we're just being conservative, so.
I mean, just to getting the money approved was, I might have balked a little bit at that tonight, but I'm sure I'm gonna lose that vote. But we probably should approve it anyway. Other, I guess gotta vote on
Vote
the
on
motion.
the amendment first.
Other comments on the amendment?
Amendment? No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Voting
Okay, we're
It's on the
voting on the
amendment.
amendment.
On the
Okay, yes, aye.
aye, okay. Motion passes 4-0. Okay, now on on the full motion as amended.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
The money that we take in for groups that come in outside of the district, does that money go, what does that money go to do? Does that money go to cover the $24,000, give or take?
Yes,
rent?
basically.
Is that what it
Historically,
covers? Okay. But, I have one comment. I just hope that we're gonna use this for other things, because I think that we could greatly increase our revenue on that.
That is the plan. and
Okay,
that's
because
the
I know for
beauty of it,
sure, if
really.
you were showing things like that,
Oh, yeah.
I would be out there. And I haven't been out there since it was here. Actually, I have never,
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, I've been out there for this meeting where we had the presentation, but I have never been out there to see a program outside of our normal stuff. So if there was other options available,
Absolutely.
I know my family would be out there, and I know that a lot of other people would also be out there. Run down to Milwaukee.
Well, this gives us access to those new programs. They're not available in the format we have now, so.
Right,
we'll-
exactly, and that's why
That's why.
I think that it's a good system that we're gonna be
Yeah,
taking out
it
there. that
it does
we have
just
a lot
open
more
up all new,
options to do it.
exactly.
Right, excellent, thank you. I just wanna make sure that that's on, have expanded programming.
Yeah, as far as programming goes, I mean, I saw something the other day. It's kind of funny, it kind of meshed in. When you do the stars, I'm sure you're showing some of the Greek constellations and showing the stars through the constellation.
Part of some shows have that, yeah.
Part of some shows of that. Even for the stars, there's the Greeks that they have their things in the sky, but Native Americans do too, you know.
Yeah, we have Skylar of the American Indians as one of our programs. Yeah, it's a fascinating show.
Just saw it the other day on in terms of the Native American tradition in the Black Hills, where this giant bear roamed the Black Hills. Well, there's a constellation in the sky that represents the
Great
giant
Bear.
bear. Yeah, so. Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0.
Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you very much.
Okay, South High School Cafeteria Project. Now, here's a big capital improvement project.
Yeah, and this one, if you recall, we've had this on the last 2 or 3 agendas and just kind of updating as you were going. And tonight, we're able to provide you a budget, a firm budget. We kind of did a rough budget back in the adoption of the 16-17 budget. We threw $1 million in there, and that was strictly based off of a square footage cost. There wasn't specific plans. So all the tasks that I had outlined last month to get to the point where we had a budget have been completed. We're now looking at a budget for this renovation of $1.12 million. I had budgeted $1 million, again, just as kind of a guesstimate back in fall. But with that said, there's some allowances within here. That budget includes just under $90,000 of contingency. You're going into a 60-year-old building, you need to have contingency. There's a contingency, for example, to replace the grease trap. We're not convinced that we have to do that, so you might save $25,000 there. These numbers have come together so quickly, we think there's some value engineering to occur yet. We just haven't had time to go through that process. Glenn thinks some of his guys can do some of the work that'll lower the price as well. So I wanted to give you kind of the worst-case scenario and use that and then we can report out to you in fall how we've done. The design itself, the first map with the red on it is, actually, I'm gonna have a presentation on this new software we've been implementing, making all of our drawings electronic, so we can measure square footage and do a lot of things more quickly. The area in this scope right now is the red area, which is the existing kitchen and serving area. We're bumping back, the kitchen into that study hall, which is on the top, which is north. The cafeteria itself, we don't plan on doing a lot of work out there. If you go to newer high schools, they have a lot of flexible seating and you have all this, different options. We have some capacity issues at South. You give up seats for the flexible look and all that, and we just don't think we're there yet. So we might do some cosmetic things in that area, but really the focus is the red area and then that study hall room. This is being designed because we do have some full lunch periods at South, where an addition could be added at some point. The funds that we're using out of Fund 50, we can't add additional square footage, but we will be able to in the future and have it fit into this layout. The design itself, on the next page, and I have a board too if you want to see a larger version.
Yeah, that would be good.
You want to see the board?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. Glenn, can you grab the board?
Because that doesn't have the cafeteria part on, right? The cafeteria part would be below.
This right here, it's the
I mean,
same.
where they sit down to eat.
Yeah, that's up here. That's this big area.
Yep.
Right up here. So here's where that study hall is. Oop. No, it's all right. So what we're going to do, Glenn, if you want to point out the new serving area in the upper right-hand corner.
Glenn, why don't you stand back so Karen can see too,
Yeah.
I mean, I can see it, just a bigger area there.
So you're looking at the exact same.
So north is upside down right now. Okay,
Cafeteria? Cafeteria off the hallway down here.
okay.
You have a serving line right now that sits in here and sits in here, which really lines up.
Tilting it.
That's also like a
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Again, so everyone can see it. So right now, like I said, serving line here, serving line here, creates a backup. Not a real good flow going in there, going out there. The new space will open that whole serving area up. You'll have 6 flexible stations within that, food stations within that area.
Parking lots up here. Seating area.
Down here, which would be.
Better perfect there, Steve. That'll work.
Because they're sitting up there.
There you go.
Right.
Pointer, you can point with that.
They're sitting up.
Top button,
Yeah,
red
they're
one.
sitting on the top.
Yeah, can you flip it?
That help?
It will help us.
Okay, whatever
Because
makes it
north
more.
is really,
Roberta-
north is really at the
Roberta's
bottom
north.
right now.
This?
No.
No, one more flip.
There you go.
There you go.
Bowman.
Yeah. Because the parking lot's over here.
The top
right?
is
Parking lot's to
Roberta.
the right.
The top is Roberta.
Right here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep, that's Roberta.
that's better.
The very top button.
Yeah.
This is Roberta.
That's
Yeah.
Roberta.
Okay.
And Tenny's on.
But right now, this is the hallway that the kids come down. They either enter here to go into a serving line, or they enter over here to go into a serving line. What this does is it takes and opens that whole space up right now where some of the kitchen is in this serving line and creates a much better flow for the students to get through. It also gives them better opportunity for better variety. Instead of just one serving line,
There's 6 stations within that area. And then
Those are cash registers at the bottom?
right
Yeah.
here. So the kids enter here, do their business here, flow out into the cafeteria here.
So that's a gate then, right, by the cash
But these
register?
are both
It might be like overhead garage door or something to,
roll-up
Okay.
doors. And then this would be the new dishwashing area, and this would be the new prep kitchen prep area.
one other thing we've struggled with the existing kitchen is the set of doors on the northeast corner to get to the hallway. That's how the deliveries have come in, and they've zigzagged into the, now they'll be able to enter you can see the door right in the midpoint. And there's space once they come in. There's actually, that door is there now, but it's so compact when you get into the kitchen. Functionally, so it'll allow for easier delivery.
So this becomes their new cooler and freezer. This is all their dry goods storage,
That's the study hall, is the dry goods?
That's where the study hall was, yeah.
an office and a break area. And like Darren said, right now, to get to some of their dry goods, they gotta go out into the hallway and go into this storeroom, get their stuff, and then come back into the kitchen area. So now, much easier flow, for them.
The benefits that we see, or the main benefit is, we think the kids will be able to get through the lines, because you're going from 2 service points to 6, potentially 5 or 6, depending on how they want to structure it. So you should, and it makes sense, 3 times as many points of service, the kids should get through at least twice as fast. So they're not standing in line for the bulk of their lunch period. So this design and layout has been, Epstein Architect helped. We had a kitchen consultant, our partners with Aramark, they've reviewed it, and the consultant sat down and met with them. So, and I think they had a fair amount of input from what I've heard. So I think we've come up with a pretty good final product.
I mean, what you'd want there though is a queue line to feed the 3 checkout lines. You have to have space for a queue line. That would speed them in and out faster.
It could. And I think you have the space to do that.
How many checkout lines do we have right now?
2.
2.
2. So we're gonna double the point of service, but not double the cash registers. That
So
sounds
what-
like a choke.
Yeah, but those cash registers, if I remember, are on each side, right?
Okay,
So there's 5.
so it's gonna be 5, okay.
Yeah.
So the way you'd do it, normal queue, is you'd have a line, and then you'd feed those 5 points from that line.
Right, like a Panera or wherever they have the same.
I do it in passport services all the time. You have your queue line, and then they have 10 spots, and you keep the 10 spots covered with 3 people, so.
Right.
Nobody's ever waiting for a
Right.
person, because they're already queued 3 at a time for each counter. If we have the space to do that, which I think we do.
The other thing that, Glenn, if you want to point to the old dry storage, we're talking about, because the room to the left of that is a bathroom, is taking that storage room and making it into a handicap accessible bathroom, and it's really used for changing and, special needs, and renovating that space to be more user-friendly for the special ed department at South. And all this will be done by August 18th or 20th, or whatever the date was we gave them, so.
I think this is so much better, like off the charts better. Yeah, I've done some volunteer work back in there for a few times, and it's pretty, the current flow is really tough, really tough.
Yeah, I think we've talked about the history, I can't remember, but that kitchen hasn't been touched since original construction, I mean, in the 50s, so it's,
So
things have,
where's the cafeteria at? I'm sorry.
the seating is all to the bottom.
On the bottom.
Top. So those will still be the fold-up tables and.
Yeah,
For now, yeah.
So that area off to the right, what is that, just kind of,
right here,
yeah, what
that's
is-
the dish room. That's where the dish machine.
That's where everything comes back.
The dish machine will go for all the,
and above that is,
this is the area where they prep food, prep food in these areas here.
so how does the dishes get from the kids back to the dish room?
There'll be a window, just like there is in the dish room now, there'll be a kids will drop their trays and stuff off, and then it just gets picked up by the staff, and then they run it through the machine,
Right there? It's right where it should be.
right there.
Yeah.
So is there any more seating or no?
There is not at this time.
How is that space, how is that environment in there with all those kids? Do they need more seating? Do they need more space in that area? It doesn't look like
There
there's
is
been,
one lunch period that gets kind of crowded. So, like Darren said, we're designing this in the manner that if we do add seating space into the cafeteria, this will flow right into it. So we told the architect to make sure that they did the design that in the future, when if we do add on to the cafeteria down here, it all flows.
To the east of that is
Parking lot.
a
Parking.
very little area of green space, but then to a parking lot that we could, based on the amount of parking we have at South, we could certainly do something in that space.
But we talked about outdoor seating.
Mm-hmm.
They could go out the same way they bring food in and go out on the outside that way or not?
That's what I was thinking for that green space, is we could look to do, it's seasonal, but for a lot of the days, it would give kids an option.
They do right now go out into that big triangle area.
Oh. Further south.
Where the
Yeah.
turnaround is, they do go out there during the good weather, and that space is full with kids eating in there.
Sure.
So can kids walk, I mean, could we design it so kids could go out there or
No,
not?
because then you're gonna cut the kids through the kitchen in the process.
Yeah.
And you don't wanna do that. So the kids would just walk right out, the same way they
Yeah, they
do
go
now,
Go to the cafeteria.
you know.
Mm-hmm. Just follow that
Food house
hallway
doors.
and go out.
It's pretty convenient. For them just to
On an
walk
outside
out the.
wall.
What's this
If
You
area
could always
here?
cut another door.
That's the
It's prep.
kitchen prep area.
Food.
Food prep.
So we got food prep here and we got food prep here, huh?
Well, you got the ovens down there, things like that. Got a food prep area up there.
Well, in the green area by the turnaround it's already set up, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's nice. I think that's a nice place for the kids to congregate, actually.
It's close and
It's already there and they're using it.
Okay, any other questions for anybody? Need a pointer anymore?
And that's it.
When would we start construction, like right after graduation?
Yep.
yeah. I mean, we've already, Glenn's had our consultants in to identify asbestos. And if we have to remove any asbestos, we're hoping to do that over spring break so we don't lose a week. So we're not doing construction, but we're doing all the prep work we possibly can to make sure at that time, that it's a firm deadline. We have to be serving lunches, so. But I think we're in a good place.
Or is it?
We do not have the results yet, right?
Oh,
Asbestos, the tile, and,
Not in the floor, is it?
we do have,
or did we get today?
preliminary results. There is some asbestos in some of the wall tile that was added, probably in the late seventies. And then there's always, some pipe fittings.
The floor and everything.
The floor tile's fine, though.
Yeah, actually, it's an epoxy floor.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. That keeps costs down.
Mm-hmm, helps.
thank you. So, all right. Darren, if you can help me. So this space used to be from here to here, all just kitchen area.
That used to be where the study hall was.
Well, if I'm
part of
looking
the
at
study hall?
this,
Yep. Just like that. And that area where that office is and that storage is the study hall.
okay, so this was all, or, you know, like this, okay, so this was all the kitchen before. And then when you go into South and you're in the cafeteria and there's tables in there, this was where the kids ate before.
No, they're not
Not
showing
pictured.
that, Karen.
Okay.
They're sitting. They're sitting right here. Another rectangle down
Oh.
here.
Yeah,
and
there's
that's
another
where it's
piece.
sitting.
Okay, all right.
Just the renovation
I
sketch.
thought you were taking that whole space
No.
and dividing it into kitchen space, and then they were just gonna sit out here.
No, what
Okay,
ends up
got it.
happening is the kitchen is being replaced with a kitchen and larger serving area, and really the study hall area is becoming an office and dry storage. We were trying to blow this up so you could see it,
Okay,
and to have that big rectangle of the cafeteria was, something had to give. That's why I put in that supplemental map to give you
So
an idea of where we were.
so this is this.
Yes.
This is down here.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, great. That's, my only concern was seating and,
That was confusing at first to me too, so.
okay, thank you.
So you're looking at a budget of 1,120,000? That's the amount that you're looking for?
And again, that'll probably come out of 2 fiscal years because we'll be flipping, the fiscal year ends on June 30th. Anytime you have construction, some of it'll come out of 16, 17, some of it'll come out of 17, 18.
I'm ready to make a motion here. I move to approve the Waukesha South High School cafeteria project or modification project to not exceed $1,120,000.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and have a second. Further discussion from anyone? So, Darren, one of the things I'm looking at is that 5,000, is that 5,655 point? What is that number under 102 cap? How many square feet is this area?
That's actually the seating area, the cafeteria area is 5,655 square feet. So that little number below the descriptor
That's square feet.
is square feet in that space. It's one of the things the software calculates for us.
That's awfully small. I mean, it still remains a very small area. And there was a reason we couldn't make it bigger. There's a restriction on making it bigger. We can't add space.
Using these funds, we can't add square footage. We can remodel existing. Can't add square footage. And then the space, again, I'm looking at this orange map here. The space up here next to the study hall, those are all bathrooms, so you really don't have much, because we looked at ways to expand the existing seating capacity. And to the south side, on the bottom side, those are bathrooms down there as well. So you really don't, the only way I think to expand that space is to add square footage on the east side of the building.
Well, was there a consideration taken out because I don't have was there consideration about turning this area into space? You got a hallway.
The hallway,
That's the hallway.
Well, I mean, it's corridor,
that's the main, yeah.
and that's part of the kitchen. That can't be converted into space?
That's the main
The corridor
flow of
actually
the
goes
kids
like
coming
this.
into the cafeteria.
All walkway.
Yeah.
Walkway.
As Glenn just mentions, I think we
They
need it
probably
for
should cut that
egress, for the space and just for a proper flow of kids in and out of the cafeteria and kitchen.
Well, what about the red area there? That's next to
And that's where the new serving area will be and the new, part of the new kitchen space.
it. I thought one of the things what are we trying to accomplish with this expenditure? I mean, what's our goal? What was our goals to begin with?
Our goal, or at least my goal, was to modernize the facility, improve the flow of kids through there, hopefully, providing them more options, even if it's the grab and go and they end up eating out in the roundabout or turnaround, those types of things. But my main thing was to redo a kitchen and serving area that hadn't been touched in 60 years. And with that comes efficiency in the flow of kids.
So what are we getting for our money? We're getting, I mean, there's no pie chart really, or is there? Breakdown of the expenditure costs?
Well, the budget, well, it doesn't break it down in chart form. It breaks it down by subject area. You know, structure, interior, services are your trades more than less. Breaks it out that way, but there's no chart. A big part of the expenditures is equipment. It was broken out in that fashion, not in a graph form.
I think your plan accomplished those goals. I think the throughput's gonna be a lot better than what it is now.
Oh, I think it'll be night and day.
Okay, any other questions? Motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. 4-0. Okay, information items, presentation of the 2015-16 financial statements. Shank SC, I assume we have a guest here tonight.
We have Amber Jewiski from Schenck, who's one of our auditors, and she's come to discuss the audit and then allow for question and answer. So I will let Amber
Welcome.
away.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome. At least you're not asking for money tonight. That's a welcome change.
Nope.
For the record, we did start out with the savings before we started expending them, so.
Should end on that, though. Makes me feel better.
We just
End on
rated,
savings.
we rated a technology budget, that's fine. Okay.
I'll talk to Steve through it tomorrow.
I saw him getting ready to jump off a cliff back there.
Grabbed his heart, his chest.
I'm gonna go over high-level pages, so if you have detailed questions or anything like that, it's all in here. You can ask me tonight. Otherwise, Sherry and Darren have our contact information. You can let us know. So, on page 1, I'm gonna go over our audit opinion. The main points here, we talk about that we did audit your financial statements of the governmental activities and your major funds and the supporting information that accompanies it for the year ended June 30th, 2016. Then it goes into talk about management's responsibility, basically that the management in the school district is taking responsibility for the numbers within this within the financial statements, and our job is to issue an opinion on those, not absolute assurance. The very bottom paragraph, we did issue a unmodified opinion, meaning that your financial statements are materially correct for the year ended June 30th, 2016.
They made that sound better.
A lot of people don't even know what that means, but it's basically a clean opinion. Then I'm going to skip back forward to page 12. This is prepared by your management through the management discussion and analysis. Just kind of talks about the correlation between the federal and state aid, obviously impacted by federal and state budgets, and then the corresponding tax levy and how it impacts that. Obviously, as aid goes up, your levy will go down, and this will show the trend over past 5-6 years. The next page I want to touch on is page 16. This is your government-wide financial statements. It includes all of your long-term assets and liabilities. The main thing I want to touch about here is your cash overall decreased, primarily due to you had prior year bond proceeds that you had, and now that was spent in the current year with about $7 million worth of capital projects for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 16. The unrestricted fund balance at the bottom, you can see that that has changed substantially, and the pension benefits right above it. Part of that is due to the Wisconsin retirement system that the district is involved in. There's new GASB standards that require us to disclose the district's proportionate share, whether it's an asset or a liability. For the year ending June 30th, 2015, that was an asset of about $14 million. As a result of returns and whatnot, there's a lot of actuarial numbers that go into it. It became a liability for the proportionate share of the district. It really doesn't mean a whole lot to a lot of people. You're not gonna necessarily have to pay it. The Wisconsin Retirement Fund retirement system is very well funded. It was a little over 100% funded, I believe, at the end of June 30th, 2015. It's about 98% funded right now. So that number matters a little bit more in some other states, but that's the big change on these numbers. And you'll see the pension liability of about $9 million. If you want to read more on that, there's more notes, but it'll probably put you to sleep.
Wisconsin is in pretty good shape compared to most states, correct?
Correct, yeah. And that's what, we don't want to touch on it a lot, but people will see those big numbers and wonder what they are. We do restrict, like I said, with the asset, we do restrict the fund balance. It's not money that the district can spend. You can't really do a whole lot with that, so. And like I said, there's about 5-6 pages of notes in the back, so. On page 18 then, this starts your fund financials, which kind of is your day-to-day operating type activities. The primary spot I want to talk about is your fund balance in total decreased by about that $7 million of capital projects that was spent. And you can see that about 4 items down in the restricted, your capital improvements, that's your big change right there. Overall, your unassigned general fund, which is the number that most people will focus on, it stayed pretty constant. And right now you're at about 18.2% of your general fund expenditures for the current year. Your policy is about 10 to 15%. So you're above your policy. We as a firm recommend anywhere in that 15 range, depending on what your situation is, maybe 15 to 20. So you're in good standing there, and you're obviously above your policy.
Where's that number at the unassigned general fund?
Right, the first column, the general fund, about 27,735.
Towards the bottom.
Towards the
Kurt.
bottom,
Which page?
page 18.
The left-hand column.
Down here.
Yeah, I find it now. Thanks, Karen.
So you have unassigned fund balance of 27,735,146, and your prior year was 27,600,152. And you'll see the details of that. I believe it's on page 47 with your general fund budget to actual. You will see how that kind of came about and where it stayed pretty static.
Do we consume all that during the year? But does that all get consumed during the short-term borrow? We don't do short-term borrows anymore. It's not the same fund balance.
It is. We get close to using in January. January and November, early January and
So
November.
that's that 27 million would be used in that way.
Very close. We come very close in those months. And then taxes come in the end of January and it brings it back up. But yes, that balance keeps us from having to short-term borrow at this time.
Make sure which balance we were talking about. This is pre the settlement, right?
Correct.
Yes,
Different numbers after the settlement, maybe.
yes.
There'll be something different. Anyway,
Yes.
but
Any more questions on those pages? Then page 20. This is your operating all your funds, operating expenses and revenues. The main points I want to point out on the revenues, your revenues stayed pretty much the same. You do have state and federal sources, meaning over 750,000, meaning we do issue a single audit report. Mainly compliance, we do some other stuff, some other control testing and that, but there was no findings on that, and that report's at the back of this, so. About in the middle of the page, again, that $7 million of capital projects, your fund balance in the capital projects is down to about 470,000 as those kind of wound down. Questions on that? Page 47, the only thing I want to point out here, as I reiterated on the other pages, is you budgeted for about a $1.5 million change in fund balance, and you actually ended up of about 500,000, and the details of that are above. Obviously, that can depend and vary by line item, but a fairly good year, so.
We budgeted a larger fund balance change than what we actually did. That's why we didn't approve that spending out of fund balance earlier tonight. Gotta meet your budget on fund balance.
I'm a firm believer in that. Make a career out of that.
Any questions on that? Otherwise, I have one more document to talk about. The next document is your management communications.
And that's, is that in the next one?
Should be as,
Yep, that's the next.
It's in the next
Information item.
executive summary.
It's under the,
the first page of this, on page 1, just kind of reiterates some of what I talked about in our opinion. On page 2, it reiterates what I mentioned before with that there was no findings, no internal control findings. At the bottom of page 2, talks about the estimates that we included in your report. Primary estimates being those pension and other post-employment benefits, your depreciable life, so your capital assets, your self-insurance, and the net pension asset and liabilities. On page,
Where's our OPEB number at?
that is on page,
Number we watch really closely, by the way.
page
We won't anymore.
41, you're at about 36.6.
No, we'll still watch it, otherwise it gets high.
You had a decrease of about 630, or 640,000 in 16.
Oh, you mean the overall liability is the number you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at the overall liability, yeah, 36.
10 years or so ago, we were at 195 million?
That included the $65 million in moral ob notes, but I mean, still, it was a liability.
Yep.
Well, it was 195 before we did that. That was,
But at one point, they had included the moral ob and the 16 million in that
when
total
we
at one time. so.
before we did the borrow for the moral ob, it was
Right.
based on having
Yeah.
195 million
Yeah.
in OPEB.
Yeah.
Okay,
There will be some standard changes on this, so this might not look the same this for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018, I think, because you guys don't have a trust.
not anymore.
So, I think, don't quote me, I believe if you don't have a trust, you have until June 30th, 18. I can verify that date, but some of that information might look different going forward, so.
Go ahead.
I didn't follow that. What,
There's GASB standards that require different reportings. So they're gonna be making some changes on what's shown in the financial statements. Very similar to the GASB 68 standards. They're gonna try to align them, so.
with respect to OPEB liabilities? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
That number might increase, but there might be some other restrictions, because they want the full liability shown, so.
So just curious, when I look at that page 41, you You have an annual required contribution. What is that requirement? Is that something, what does the annual required contribution mean on the OPEB?
That's an actuarial calculation of what we should be funding or contributing in a year.
Correct.
And that changes every year.
Correct.
It's a factor of your
Yep,
liability, so.
based on who's rolling in and rolling out
Yep,
and.
yeah, what's the denominator and, did I oversimplify that?
Nope.
Nope.
That's exactly it. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but
And I would guess when you were at 195 million, that number was significantly higher.
yeah.
Just like the total.
And as you change plans, you change healthcare plans and stuff like that, that number also will change, because that's all factored into that, so, or as you, costs increase, it could go up too and such.
So, Mr. Clark, I assume that this change in net OPEB obligation could be mapped over a period of time? Just the number change, just a change? Because right now it says a change in net OPEB, we went down 637,000. Well, that must be a minor down year compared to some of the other years we've had, so we should be able,
I would think.
we should be able to map that year to year if it's in our audited statements. Is it in our audited statements every year?
Yeah, and actually, it was just me. I think in some report, I think during the settlement, my executive summary, I gave you a
You gave us an overall, but,
7 years ago we were here and now
yeah,
we're here.
but year to year, it'd be nice if it's in this, if it's in these reports, we could see it.
Oh,
So you
absolutely.
will see the OPEB change, the liability change,
Per the audit,
contribution
per the
change
audit,
per the
year to
audit.
year.
Sure.
Yeah, per the-
There's some charts in here, on the bottom of page 41, at the top of page 42, and then again on page 49 and 50. There's some analysis on there. It's a 3-year trend, so if you want anything more,
Yeah, we should be able to pull out the past reports, so.
Oh, yeah.
yep. And every
3
report
years
has to
back.
show 3 years once you have that in there.
We can send that out in a Friday update or something and give you a 10-year snapshot or something like that if you'd like.
I think,
No, I think it'd be good to,
when you go from 195 to
We should-
37, you want to keep emphasizing that, right?
yes.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice chart to show our constituents.
They want it to be zero, obviously, but
Well,
we're getting there.
It'll never be zero. That's impossible.
Okay.
On page 3 of that management letter, we did not have any disagreements with management. They were good to work with, so, thank you for that. And that is what I wanted to cover in both of those reports, unless you guys have some questions.
Well, the former F&F chair was always he always liked to, we're a school system, and even though we don't like report cards for ourselves as a whole, we always ask for a report card grade
I did hear that.
from the auditor. That's a Dan Warren historical thing. And is this your first time before us?
This is my first time presenting your district, so.
So you were warned ahead of time
I
that this
was
question would
warned.
come forth. Who was it that tipped you off?
Dave Mockel warned me.
Okay. So, relative to other districts that you've worked with or that your company has worked with, we use, our parents insist that we use an ABCD scale. So we follow whatever our community tells us to follow. So where would you grade the district financially? First, I'd ask for two grades. There's what I call progress and status. So the progress grade, based on our progress, where would you rate us? In other words, declining upward, declining downward,
From a financial standpoint,
financial statement.
I mean, obviously, as your fund balance states, you're in a pretty good position to do some things. So, I think as you grow and you're trying to do some of these projects, I think you have some room, and you've been fiscally probably conservative, for a little bit. So,
For our progress grade, there's two grades. There's a present here and now grade and a progress grade.
I'd say a B plus.
A B plus on progress.
Yep,
And the here and now grade?
I think you're a B plus across the board, which
Oh,
is
you're gonna
pretty
make-
high. That's a pretty good,
That's pretty good
rating.
You're a
so-
tough grader, I take it. Ms. Ronchek?
And did you bring stickers with? Because he's probably going to want a sticker.
Did not.
Gold
That is one
stars.
thing I forgot. I don't even own any stickers, so.
Yeah, next time bring stickers.
I'll have Sherry order some so I can take them from her.
But
Put that in the budget.
let's make that when we get to A.
Yeah.
Mr. Como?
I just wanted to look at page 3, the corrected and uncorrected mistakes. There were a few found and mistakes that were corrected. Could you maybe just give us a sample of what some of those might have been? And they were all corrected, so.
Yes, yep. It can really vary, probably, and I don't have it in front of me exactly, but typically a lot of them will be reclasses, expense reclasses, additional accounts payable that we book. We usually will prepare some of the GASB entries, and some of that's off the books of the district. So nothing substantial. A lot of it is just purely reclass. A lot of the entries we get are PBC from here. So PBC meaning
PBC.
prepared by the client.
Oh.
So they'll come from Sherry's office or Darren's office, and they'll give them to us to post in ours. So I would say most of them are expense revenue reclasses and additional payables or receivables that we would find.
Okay. And could you also remind me of how you sample? You go in and take
Correct.
samples.
Correct.
And you rotate amongst what you sample in terms of,
Correct.
I think sometimes it's locations. And can you kind of go through how you choose to sample and how that rotation works?
It's a risk-based approach and a judgment. I mean, we do risk assessments on each audit assertion and area, and then that's from a balance sheet standpoint. From a compliance standpoint, we look at your programs, and we have certain requirements in terms of what we're supposed to test from a federal and a state standpoint, and we use that, and then we will take your general ledger detail, we'll sample from that based off of, there's some different auditing techniques out there that we'll use, and then we'll also audit your pupil activity funds, and that's also a risk-based approach. We will talk with, we used to talk with Joe, we'll talk with Sherry about, are there any issues, are there any concerns that we should go out to that particular school? Are there any certain areas within the district that have some concerns that maybe we should look at that? Or hey, maybe we haven't looked at this in about 3 or 4 years, we're gonna focus on that. So it's really a purely risk-based, and then we throw some judgment into that.
And we had, there were a few changes that we needed to make, Darren, over the past several years at each of our schools, just some processes to tighten those things up, and we've done those over the course of the last couple of years. Those, you didn't really have any other recommendations along those lines? I know I thought it was last year, maybe the year before, I'm kind of getting the audits now mixed up a little bit. Did you see improvements in those processes then?
Yeah,
The activity accounts?
Yeah, the activity accounts, yeah, thank you, Sherry.
yep.
Yeah.
And we still go out to those. We go out there every May to select schools. A lot of times what we've done in the past is, depending on the magnitude or of the concern, we might verbally talk with management about it. So I would always send him the school, what happened, and some areas of where we think you guys could improve. Sometimes we put that in the report, sometimes we'll purely do it verbal, and usually, historically, you guys have made those changes pretty quick, so we have no reason to believe that you won't. So that's kind of the process, it's kind of judgment in terms on our part, and then also conversations with Darren's office on how we want to handle those.
In terms of the student activity accounts, we are, and I don't think this is an audit issue, but we are in the process of, this year we eliminated all elementary student activity accounts. We were able to set up a structure within our Fund 21 accounting and the use of the P card to eliminate that. And that cleans up a lot of auditing, because we do spot audits ourselves out of our, my accountants go out to the schools and spot audit student activity accounts. Next year, or this summer leading into next year, we're going to be reviewing the junior high and high school student activity accounts to see if they're in compliance with DPI rules. So there'll be some cleanup there, but we've been doing a lot of things, probably, but I've done the most of since I've been here, is instilling those processes. We'll be talking about student fees next month. It touches on this whole audit. How are we doing in terms of eliminating risk? So we'll do a follow-up report next month or in a Friday update to let you know what we've done in that regard.
And just one other question. This seems to be that the report is being given a little bit later this year as compared to previous years. Is there a reason it took longer, or?
Wisconsin retirement system. The state implemented a new software, and that greatly delayed the LAB's work and some other actuarial numbers on the WRS systems, the net pension asset liability numbers. We did not receive the final numbers until, well, preliminary final numbers until the very beginning of December. Actually, after the December 1st deadline, we received them. And then we found out in the beginning of January that those numbers were wrong. So then we had to do some other things, and not substantially wrong, but we had to then hold reports and find out and make sure from our end that we were okay to issue these from an audit standpoint. So that was the primary driver of why these were so late. So you're not the only school district having a meeting tonight.
Hopefully those kinks will be worked out.
Actually,
They have been worked out.
every school district in the state was on hold. Our work we were on pace otherwise for a November, December report out to you, but
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, no issues or concerns outside of that. It was purely, we were waiting for the audited numbers, so.
We weren't sure if Darren took an extra vacation in there or something, you know.
had some things to clean up before.
So, I guess the question I have is in terms of, we hear a lot about this West Allis, West Milwaukee thing that happened. I think it was in the front page of the Journal. Is there something that we should be watching as a committee going forward? What numbers should we be looking at in our audit that would tell us that things are trending in a direction they shouldn't be trending, like happened at West Allis and West Milwaukee?
I think the primary thing is kind of like what you guys have done tonight is, watch your budgets. I think that was one of the big areas of where that district kind of went wrong, was the overspending part of it. And watching your budget to actuals, watching your fund balance. You want to stay within your policy, obviously, and you want to stay within recommended guidance. So I think that's and being smart about what kind of expenditures, especially large expenditures that you're going to make. Thorough in them, make sure that they make sense from a long-term perspective, not just a short-term, and that you're not going to be spending multiple thousands of dollars after the fact 2 years down the road. So I think that part is focusing more on that, your budget to actuals. You don't have to be right on with your budgets, obviously, but just being cognizant of what your long-term plan is. A lot of times we talk to our municipalities about long-range planning, look at your capital projects. What kind of projects do we want to do in the next 2 years? What do we want to do in the next 5 years? So being smart about that type of stuff and planning accordingly then, and structuring, if you're going to be issuing debt, structuring those payments and factoring all of that in. I think that's the big key, is planning and not just thinking the short term of what's it going to cost me down the road too.
I think, obviously, none of us are really familiar with the details of West Allis, West Milwaukee, but, we've seen some of that in our own, over the last 10, 15 years, where you're assuming revenues will come from an expenditure. And I think that's where people get caught up a lot.
Yep.
IQ Academy, Achieve is one of those where, we were expecting to make an investment and get revenue, and it never materialized. So those can have a big negative impact on your financials when that doesn't happen.
Yep. And that's where you want to make sure that you have your contingencies to fall back on. But once you start relying on your contingencies, that starts to create a problem. So I think, as you can tell on your unassigned fund balance, you've increased that a little bit. You've stayed pretty much the same. If you were regularly spending that down, then we'd probably be having a different conversation here.
So you liked how we handled the capital investment in the planetarium equipment then? Did you hear that part of the meeting?
I did.
So and for that very reason, we want to take it out of current budget and figure out how to work it into it versus, and maybe it has to be planned out over the course of a few years, but, there was a reason why we didn't want to dip into, fund balance, and we're trying to control that.
Yeah, and
as
sometimes
much
it
as we
makes
can.
sense. I don't want to deter people from saying that it doesn't make sense, but as long as you kind of have a plan for that, and you don't want to do it regularly.
Sure.
So.
Just a little history. There was a time when let's say a very conservative school board, many, many moons ago, looked at fund balance as something that we shouldn't have. And they spent it down to zero because they felt that we shouldn't be banking money. And Mr. Clark knows that. He was here when that happened, and it was a,
It's on the upswing a little bit, but yeah, it was at 300,000, I think was the low.
yeah. And so when I joined the board, I think it was like 1.1 million or something like that was our fund balance, very low. And because of revenue limits and our expenditure side, which we've gotten a lot of control over, both in terms of compensation, healthcare, things like that. We took control of that pre-Act 10, actually, a lot of that stuff, but Act 10 did help. And so we've focused on building that fund balance, and we focused on not trying to pull from that fund balance to pay for ongoing projects. Some of it's been controversial. We had efficiency program, which was controversial. We could have pulled that from fund balance. It was $8 million, but we felt we could take it through the legislation that's available to exercise that through a tax levy, and that's what we did. So I think the prudent thing is to build a fund balance, maintain a fund balance. It prevents us from borrowing like we used to have to. We used to have to borrow the whole 27 million every year, you know. So it's really put us in a good position to build this fund balance. That's why we hold Mr. Clark very accountable. When he says he's going to have a $1.5 million adder to fund balance, we're expecting that to happen. Anyway, that's the way we go about that.
Yep.
Any other questions for the auditor? One last question. I mean, you don't audit for any choice schools, do you? I mean, you only audit for public schools.
Our firm does, I don't.
They audit for choice schools.
Yeah, we do some.
And that audit is reported to DPI, just like ours?
Yes, yeah. I'm not well adversed in that area, so I don't want to answer the wrong question, but yes.
Mr. Gray, is that, if you're understanding that they go through the same auditing procedures we do?
I am not aware that they have the same requirements we do, but I certainly will check on that. My understanding is it's not reportable to DPI, but it could
It's
be.
slightly different, is my understanding, but there are reporting requirements. I know that there's other people in our office that do those, so.
Well, I think this is kind of an example. We're fully funded by the taxpayers, 100%, and we're accountable 100%. So the audit, having a good, strong audit is very important to us, and we
Yep.
appreciate what you've done and your firm's done for us.
Well, thank you, and you guys have been great to work with too, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out.
And on the agenda item, does management have a response to the 2000?
No, we put it on, there was no issues identified in the letter, so we have no. The audit went Amber and her team, and Amber was our lead during the audit, I probably should say that, but everything went really well, so we have no comments.
Other than thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the B+, Amber.
I have to point out something in Darren's defense, though. The projected fund balance was supposed to change by a negative 1.5 million.
Oh.
And it only, so he brought us an extra 979,000.
Oh, oh,
So the bonus is gonna look pretty good this year.
You did, no, you were
I
fine.
misunterpreted. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that,
Yeah.
Mr. Gray.
Yeah, so he's back in the bonus.
Yeah.
Bonus round?
Thank you, Amber.
Keep them now.
Safe travels back to you.
Good to have that clarified. We were $900,000 ahead of the game.
We are, yep.
Okay. That's wonderful. Okay. Any other management responses or clarifications to misstatements by the F&F chair?
Just real quick, good job.
Yeah, it was really, the audit's not I have Sherry and our team does all that work.
This is as a board, this is one of our most important responsibilities, is to make sure that money is being handled properly. So we rely on the audit process quite a bit. And to have really no suggestions for improvements is excellent. So that deserves a good job.
Okay, with that, we're going to move right on to the food service program update, and I assume this is going to be one of the most enjoyable programs of the night.
No food. If
I
you,
was expecting the food trays to start coming.
Yeah, right.
if the committee remembers, when we went through the RFP process last summer or spring into summer, one of the things that was mentioned was that you didn't get an update on how the food service program was operating during the year. You got, it was kind of part of our financial audit, how did they do plus or minus, financially. So Aramark, and I'll let them introduce themselves when they, you can come up to the table. This is our team, and I kept asking them, I think I asked them to come in January, and then I asked them to come in February, and our agendas were so full. But then when I saw the South High School cafeteria lining up in March, it just seemed to make sense to have them come tonight. So this is their presentation, but I'll let you guys introduce yourself and then walk us through your
Before you
your
start,
slides.
this is the first year of Aramark?
Yes.
First complete year.
Yeah.
Did we have stats on total meals served the prior year?
Isn't that in the,
It'll be in the
It's in, you'll see it
presentation.
in a minute, yeah.
Okay, good.
You'll see what we pulled out of the
Mic turned on?
original.
okay, you want
It
to,
should be, yeah. Yeah, John, there it is.
just
I'm
make
Mary
sure-
Jo McLaughlin. I'm the regional manager. To my right is Val Friggy, our food service manager and dietitian. To my left is Brian Mand, our general manager who operates the program. So this will be Brian's, and I'll jump in wherever necessary. But thank you for your patience tonight to allow us to present.
All right, so we'll get right into the budget attainment year-to-date financial results. So this actually just goes through January. We don't have the February claims in yet, at least it's not as far as today, I didn't see. So on the bottom, it says through January, $434,606. It's about exactly half the school year. Through January was 90 service days out of 178. So and then meals probably won't change much. So you're looking at the end of the school year at about $860,000, and that does not include summer school food service, which we'll be doing this year, and we did it last year as well.
We're good? All right.
Yep. So on this graph shows the meal participation total average daily meals. Now, it broken down by month. And if you look closely, there is a little dotted line that does show prior year meals. So compared to prior year each month, we have increased total meals per day. And so I want to point out a couple things. September, as you probably know from the past, is always kind of a slow month for every year. October, there's always an increase, and then in October is when the rollover happens, when it's updated who qualifies for free and reduced lunches and breakfast. This year we had a reduction of free students that qualify in the district by about 330, and then we had reduced enrollment is up 82, and the normal paid enrollment is up 130. So you can see the drop-off from October to November. A large part of that is most likely due to having 330 students that no longer qualified for free and reduced lunches. And then since then, it was kind of steady. January was kind of a little bit lower. We had exams at the high schools where students are able to leave early or only come to school a half day. We also had some weather days. I know we didn't have any school days canceled or any half days or anything. But we definitely did notice on those days where it was a big snowstorm or it was very cold, that attendance is a lot lower. From what the students sign up for lunches the day before at the elementary schools, we would see the next day that those numbers were way too high and that the attendance was lower. So you see January's a little drop off. And then, February is a bounce back. Now in February, I did remove the ACT testing days because those were, there was 2 days, Tuesday, only juniors were in school to take the ACTs, and they left. They didn't need to stay for lunch, and then so I just removed that day completely because it would just drop February down. It wouldn't make any sense to be on that graph. So, yeah.
Say compared to last year, total enrollment is down 118. Is it total enrollment in your program, in eating lunch, or at our schools? We are down 118 students.
At the schools.
The
schools.
total enrollment.
Yeah.
That was, and I ran those numbers in February. Just I ran one day in Infinite Campus and just compared year over year. And I double checked them with Sherry because I didn't want to really make sure, but it's probably give or take a few. But
And
yeah.
we're projected to lose around that number for the next several years.
So what this tells us with our overall enrollment down, free and reduced lunches, well, at least the free lunches are down. Reduced went up, but not that much.
Right.
And you have an increase in the paid students.
Yep.
You guys are either marketing better, the food tastes better, something positive is happening there.
Yep.
I think you see a little bit of all of that at once. We challenged ourselves initially with robust marketing, which we showed you the first time we were here. And then we continue to challenge ourselves with the monthly monotony breakers, especially at the secondary level, to keep it exciting. You come back, you go into holidays, you go into a little bit of a lull, you come back from holidays and there's exams. So that is something that we self-impose and then put goals on ourselves when we measure your free students to ensure that we're feeding as many students who want to enjoy either breakfast or lunch.
I can tell you from my superintendent's advisory, there's like 26 parents. It's the quality of the food is given high marks. I mean, definite positive response from our parents. So,
Definitely weren't doing things right before, that's for sure.
no,
Ms. Reinschek?
Why is free enrollment down 339?
I can speak to that a little bit. Last year, DPI had an error in their direct certification process, so people can get certified two ways. One is a process we run that looks for other programs that people are involved in, food share and things like that, and directly certifies them. We get a file that says all these students are either free or reduced, and then the people can apply. That's the other aspect of it. Last year, DPI actually had an error in their processing, and a lot of people were certified that weren't actually supposed to be certified because it was pulling in programs that didn't qualify. They chose not to correct that. They just left everybody on there that was on there. This year, they had a similar problem, but they did correct it. So we actually sent out letters and then had to send out new letters saying, no, I'm sorry, you didn't qualify because of this direct certification problem. So they cleaned up their errors and it impacted our people.
See that big decline from October to November, which is when that all really changes in October 30, after the first 30 days of the school year.
Yeah, they get carryover. They get about 6 weeks of carryover from their last certification. So for their 15-16 school year, that certification will carry over till mid-October. So those people that didn't necessarily qualify were still qualified by their carryover from the year before.
Yeah, so I want to touch on breakfast because that's one of the major reasons why the average daily meals have gone up over prior year. We started this year breakfast in the classroom at both Blair. Oh, I have that wrong again. I forgot to change it. It's at Blair and Whittier. Up there it says Hatfield. It's at Blair and Whittier. We started it back right when school started, and I'll have on the next slide the stats year over year for just those two schools. Another thing we did that we started in about mid-January was starting a second chance breakfast cart at North High School, and I'll touch on that in a few other slides here. But you'll see, just looking from January to February is when we started that breakfast cart, a jump in breakfast just on that alone, and then year over year, we're up a couple hundred meals per day just in breakfast because of those breakfasts in the classrooms at those elementary schools.
And to clarify that, that's free universal at those two. Everybody in the school gets free breakfast. And the reason we can do that is they have such a high percentage of free and reduced students that it's called universal free breakfast. And the program we're trying out this year at those two schools.
And I know taxpayers pay for that, but through our state, through our school aid, where does that money come from?
Actually, with the aid amounts that we receive, the taxpayers aren't spending any money on that. We're actually I think the last check I did, we were at like $3,000 ahead in just the aid money that we receive.
Local taxpayers.
Well,
Yeah.
they're not, it's not part of our money that it's not coming out of our Fund 50 fund balance to offset this program is what I meant by that. but it's part of the federal aid. Because the aid that we get for free, and especially some of these schools, there's a program called Severe Need Breakfast, is an even higher reimbursement rate, and it's more than what Aramark charges us per breakfast.
Your net offset for the breakfast program ends up with a little bit of a programmatic excess. And we try to study that as closely as we can. There's a number, a line in the sand where that would happen, but Sherry's been a great partner in studying that just to see which schools we could offer that free breakfast.
And we've got another school kind of on the cusp, and we looked at it and decided for this year, it would potentially dip into fund balance, so we're gonna keep monitoring that. But, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this slide just shows, it's a table of year over year at just those two schools, at Blair and Whittier, that we went to breakfast in the classroom. So you can see at Blair, February of 16, they did about 95 breakfasts per day, and then this year they're doing about 255 per day. So we increased the number of students that have access to eat breakfast by 160. And then at Whittier last year they were doing 97. This year they were doing 194. So we increased that by 97 per day. Blair's bigger. Yeah.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
Whittier's dropped down to like about 300 kids, so.
Yeah, we're looking at probably about high 80% of the students that are actually participating. And one of the big reasons they weren't eating as much last year is it was difficult for some students to get to school on time to even be able to eat the breakfast that's in the cafeteria before school starts. Or even if they came a little bit late, they wouldn't get access to that. Now, no matter, they get to school, they get to check into the classroom, and then they get a chance to pick out a breakfast and eat it. And I know just talking to Cynthia, the principal over at Whittier, she loves it, and it's, less hungry students means less health room visits, more focus, more attention on in the classrooms, and it's always a big change for the teachers and for the schools to do this, and the maintenance staff and everything. But we haven't had any kickback. I mean, everybody's been really positive about it. It's been a really good change.
Thing I found really interesting is that the participation in the free students has increased dramatically, which I wouldn't have expected because they were free last year and free this year. Part of it is that easy access to having it in the classroom, but I do believe part of it takes away that stigma of your friends somehow finding out that you're free. But it's just been crazy how much higher the participation of the free students has been. Great.
Next, I want to talk about the Second Chance Breakfast. We trialed it at North High. We're still doing it there. It's the students are able to take a grab-and-go breakfast from a cart in between morning classes. And there's a picture. That's the actual cart in the atrium at North High School. So each bag, each one of the bags you see on that little shelf on the very left contains a breakfast in it, and the students are allowed to also take the fruit and a milk with it as well. They're not required to, so we don't put those items in the bag. They can grab them if they want. We don't want students taking a milk because they think they have to. If they don't like milk, they're just going to dump it or throw it away. So this is not universal free, unlike the elementary schools. The price is free for free students, 30 cents for reduced students, and then the normal paid $1.85 for regular paid students. Now, when we were researching this idea of doing this Second Chance Breakfast, we found out when we met with the principal that I think it was like 70% of the students don't even have to be at school before school starts because it's a resource period, and that's when we were offering breakfast in the cafeterias and right before resource period. We found out that most of the students come right before first hour, and it was something that we learned, and we thought, well, that's the reason why most of these free students aren't coming in to eat breakfast, because why would they come to school earlier when then they actually have to? So, and that's not just true at North, it's true at the other high schools as well. So, and then what we do is we still offer the cafeteria breakfast, the hot breakfast in the cafeteria, and then in between first and second period and second and third period, we wheel this cart down to the atrium at North, and the students can just quickly, they only have 5 minutes, they just grab a couple things, type in their PIN, and they're off, and we charge them for the breakfast. And we've gotten very positive comments on this as well.
Can you give us some ideas of what's in the grab-and-go bags?
Yeah, so we have like a 5-day cycle. The most popular thing we have is Crave cereal. I don't know if you've ever seen Crave. It's a whole grain, but it's got chocolate in it, so the students love that. But we got cereal bars, like a Trix cereal bar or a Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal bar. We got Pop-Tarts, Nutri-Grain bars, string cheese, cheddar cheese cubes. We can do bagels. What's required is that they have to have 2 ounces of grain or 1 ounce of grain and 1 ounce of meat substitute, which would be like the string cheese would be considered like a protein or a meat. So they always have to have those 2 things offered to them, as well as a fruit, 2 servings of fruit, which we typically do a juice and a fruit. The juice counts as a fruit, and then the milk. So that's the most popular item is Crave. It's cereals and Pop-Tarts, just breakfast kind of snacky foods. We worked with the maintenance department, Glenn. We didn't want to do anything, at least to start, that could be sticky or, because they're eating it, most of the time they're probably eating it at their desks or, well, actually, most of the students probably just eat it in the hallway quick before they get to class. But we want to make sure there's nothing that was really going to make the desks or dirty or spill on the floor where there might be pest issues or things like that, because obviously other students have to sit at those desks the rest of the day.
And then the other thing is, it's whole grain, so we don't tell them that. But it is whole grain cereal, it's whole grain Crave, it's whole grain granola bar, even the Pop-Tarts are whole grain. So, the student's mind, it's a goodie bag that they grab, it's clear, they have a juice, they can have an additional milk for it, but you want to allow the tempo, and the average student literally in, 10 steps can down the juice and grab it. And we put the fruit in there because it's a requirement as well. So they get a fresh fruit, a whole grain snack, but it is breakfast.
Do you have a sense of what percentage of students will take a fruit?
Well, they have to,
100%.
100%.
They're required to take at least one fruit,
Yeah.
whether it's the juice or the apple or
Yeah.
orange or banana, whatever we have that day. We don't let them go through unless they grab one. Otherwise, it can't be considered a reimbursable
Yeah.
breakfast.
So it's bananas, apples, oranges, grapes, raisins, in season,
Cranberries,
berries,
yeah.
cranberries, you have blueberries. I mean, and we cup them up so that they can grab them. We try to diminish the messiness of it for the factor of the
Yeah, for this
custodians,
cart, we
yeah.
typically just do the bananas, apples, and oranges, and then cranberries that we get actually commodity that are coming in a package, and the raisins like in the little boxes. And then we always just do a little 4-ounce juice as well, because a lot of the students either want a milk or a juice.
So let me ask that question a little bit differently. How many students or what percentage of students will choose the fresh fruit?
Versus the juice.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a Val question.
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. We haven't gone through our records to look at that. But actually, we do have students that come up just to purchase fruit in the morning, so it is there in the hall for the students. But I think a good chunk of students do take the fruit too, because they're like, it's just an extra snack that they can have. I mean, you don't have to eat an apple right away or anything in that bag right away. So I think a lot of students do eat the fruit too.
We do know they like yogurt parfaits, which is the fresh fruit layered with yogurt. But again, a little messy to put in the bag. But we do that.
Is this only at North?
Yeah, this is only at North. So we wanted to, when we started this idea back in January, we worked with the district maintenance and with Sherry and Darren, and we wanted to trial it at one school, and we were trialing it at North. And now they give us the approval to try it at South. So, we're in the process of planning on getting the cart and getting everything planned to start this at South. We've been in contact with Mr. Galante. We're hoping to get it started before the end of the year. We have to work out some of the schedules with some of the employees to be able to do so, but that's currently where we are with that. The one thing at South is North is so nice and convenient. It has that atrium that all the students in between classes
Funnel in.
basically just go there. Where South, there's not a spot like that. So, we're gonna, once we do start it, we're gonna have to trial and error. Where should we put this thing? Is it gonna be in the hallway? Obviously, the hallways aren't as wide as they are at North. It's just it's an older school. So, we have not, at West, there's such a low amount of free and reduced students. I would say I know the majority of the students that take this morning second chance breakfast are the free and reduced students, and that's the kind of population we wanted to target, because those are the students that need the food in the morning probably the most. So the next school we want to do is South.
Do you think maybe South needs 2 carts as opposed to just one?
They could.
I mean, it's so spread out.
It is so spread.
Oh, it's like tentacles. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're onto something as far as access points, and then you work with the educational academic team, so you're not an intrusion in their day, but allowing them to grab it. You can legally serve breakfast until 10 a.m., but the second chance breakfast is that someone can't eat in the morning and then eat again at before 10 a.m. because it's all computerized as to the take of that item. So.
No, I didn't think about doing two
carts, yeah.
That's a good idea. We could.
That's one thing when we look at these additions to our food service program, is we do go through a process. The principal has to be on board. it has to work out logistically within the building. Glenn's staff has to sign off on it. And then Sherry and I, is it break even or not? And not that we would never approve a program that maybe is costing us a sliver if we think the reward's high enough. So there's a methodology to these placements and why certain schools have them at this point and others don't.
We don't have anything like this in elementary schools.
We don't have any breakfast carts. So the closest thing would be the breakfast in the classroom that we have at Blair and Whittier.
Is that the same kind of food, or is that, what is that? What is that?
It's similar. Yeah, it's similar food. The breakfast in the classroom at the elementary schools, there is more of a variety. We do have like a 5-week cycle where there's less repeats.
Oh,
At the high school level, these students they just want their I mean,
right.
we literally do crave every day because that's what they want.
The cart, I was at Blair and I saw the cart's similar to
Cart
this
looks the
though.
same,
I mean,
yeah.
it's kids on the run down the hallway and
Right.
they're on the go because it's the only way you're gonna capture them.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually opened up Blair's, and we have 5-6 carts strategically placed throughout both levels of the
That
school.
building's a little,
And it is a mission, where they come in with their lanyards, they take an item, the ladies who supervise the carts have it down to a science, and they're like, it's a 5-week cycle menu, where they can have Cheerios, or, again, they're all whole grain, even the items that appear to be a sugar cereal, they're low sugar cereals.
Right.
And those students, they have it there that, like we said, we're around 80+% kids eating breakfast, which is phenomenal.
and the other part of that is Steve in IT has been helping us a lot in trying to
my,
figure out what's
yeah.
the best way to, is it a pin or is it a card or is it, to capture the data of the usage too.
Oh,
Yeah, Steve, for the breakfast in the classroom, Steve printed IDs with barcodes for every single student in Blair and Whittier. So that, they both do it a little bit differently. At Blair, the students wear their ID on a lanyard, or they don't wear it, they grab it off the hook, and they hang it on our cart if they grab something, so we can physically see that, hey, they left their card there and they grabbed their breakfast. And that way we're not charging people that did not get it. At Whittier, the teachers, because it's actually truly in the classroom, the teachers are the ones looking to make sure that the student puts their cart in the basket when they grab a breakfast. So,
Do you get any grief from the parents about the selections? For instance, Pop-Tart?
I have not heard one
Not
thing
at
from the
all.
parents
Yeah.
since we've started it. I mean, not one thing negative. I mean, it's all been.
Yeah,
it's
well,
been
that's
pretty
what I
positive.
mean. Do you have any negative comments about, like a Pop-Tart or a cereal bar or?
Yeah, they're whole grain, they're no artificial colors.
Well, it says whole grain right on the Pop-Tart.
Yeah, it says
I know,
right on it,
but
yeah.
Nothing, nothing,
Yeah.
no one's.
You
giving
can't
that
buy
a
these at the store because they wouldn't sell.
And there's only one Pop-Tart in the package.
It's a
Yeah.
single
Right,
Pop-Tart.
Yep.
but it's
Right.
frosted.
Yeah.
It is, there is some
Yeah.
frosting.
Oh, I know,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, we're within
We
the.
should have brought you guys a goodie bag of breakfast.
Yeah, that would've been great.
Next, excuse me.
I was just wondering if there was
No.
any sort of,
I haven't got that. Not at the and at the
Not
high
at
school.
all.
I don't think I'd ever hear it. Yeah.
Oh,
Because
is
at the high school, it's nice is if they don't want the packaged stuff, they want to get to school a little bit earlier. They can grab a breakfast, bagel and
a hot
egg
item.
sandwich or whatever it is. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Great questions.
And I was gonna ask if it was popular, but then I jumped ahead and turned the page.
And it
Yeah,
sure
we'll
is.
show you, yeah. Yeah, so I have on here last year at North High School, from September through December, they did about 49 breakfasts a day. Same time period this year, we did 50. We increased it by 1 meal per day. Then in January, now we didn't start this until January 9th, I believe. It was the second week. In the first couple days, we did maybe one or
yeah.
two breakfasts. And I told Val, hey,
Hang
it'll
in
grow. We put out a ton of communication. We had our lunch employees handing out like business cards during lunch. Hey, make sure you stop in for breakfast if you're hungry in the morning. We had emails and Twitter and everything, but a lot of times that stuff just doesn't work as well. And then, when we start it and after a week or so, the students see it and they're talking to their friends and they ask us questions and it kind of grows. So January, we increased it by 25 per day, and that was after starting it, mid-second week of the month. And then in February, we've been running it every day. We got up to 100 breakfasts per day. So it was pretty exciting for us. And I think I got the next slide kind of. Oh, no, I must have left it.
Oh,
off.
that's good promotions. You're gonna
Yeah.
make people hungry is what you're gonna do next slide.
Yeah, so I would say an average breakdown is probably about between 50 and 55 breakfasts that are eaten in the cafeteria, and then on the actual breakfast card, it's between 45 and 50. We do between 40 and 45 and 50 on the breakfast card. So almost half and half, just a little bit more in the cafeteria in the morning. So kind of cool. I thought I had a slide in there that showed like the two lines going together and stuff. So that's it on breakfast. Then we're just gonna kind of talk about what we do at lunch for promotions and marketing. So every month at the middles and the high schools, we do what's called a fuel program. Where it's 2 weeks out of each month, we do a special where we serve the same entree all week, each of those weeks.
Along with the other food.
Along with everything else that we're doing, right. So, and just a few of the more popular ones that we've done so far this year. The flavors of the Caribbean was a theme one month. We had Jamaican chicken flatbreads and Cuban flatbreads. We had inspirations of burger craft. We had the pimento cheeseburger, and the triple kicker burger was like a kind of a spicy, cheesy cheeseburger. Then we had the Year of the Chicken. This is probably the most popular one we did in January. Spicy popcorn chicken bowl. Now, we normally do a popcorn chicken bowl once or twice a month without spicy, just regular plain old popcorn chicken. This one was flying off the shelf. And then the chili garlic popcorn chicken. That one was not served with mashed potatoes, but just another Asian popcorn chicken thing that they had with the rice and with the broccoli or another vegetable. The students were really excited about the Year of the Chicken promotion, but they were excited about all of them. But that one, I know that on Monday, like, this is going to be here all week. Like, they were just going to eat it all week. It was pretty popular. Every month, I mean, that's just 3 of them. Every single month we have a new one, and we're running one right now because this is the second week of March, right? Yeah, we're running it now. I was working at South High School today. The chicken shawarma wrap, and it's awesome. It's got chicken, it's got coleslaw, nice thick, in a 9-inch whole grain tortilla wrapped up, and they serve it warm. It was pretty good. So what we also always try to do at the middles and high schools for these things is the week before, or even the day that we start doing it, is chop it up into smaller portions and try to have the students be able to sample it before they purchase the entire meal in case they don't like it. So it's pretty cool. At the elementary schools, we don't do a fuel promotion like that, but we have other kinds of promotions that we do. First, we have the ACE Elementary Nutrition Mascot Program. Every month, they get all of our elementary schools get a kit sent to them, and there's wellness posters. In October, it's documentary healthy eating. Then we also each month get an ACE giveaway. ACE is our mascot. He's the fox in all those posters. He's called Ace the Fox. Someday he's going to make an appearance in some of these elementary schools. We can rent the costume, and I'll probably be walking around as Ace the Fox. I've done it before at other schools, so I guess the students pretty
Or
excited.
if any of our committee members would like to.
Yeah, we can get that for you. Probably should be doing it in winter because pretty soon in summer you won't be able to.
Same company that makes Ace makes
Lot of
Bucky.
things going
I mean, it's a professional mascot company
Yeah.
that we have them made out of.
Yeah. So in November was Be Kind. The students got the Ace Rocks Cool Cup. In December, the Stay Fit theme. Just these healthy messages that are hung up in the cafeteria. Just reminding the students about health and wellness. They had scratch and sniff stickers. Now I think it was in January. The giveaway was these chef hats that are made out of
Oh my
paper.
God,
I don't know if any
yeah.
of you have elementary students, but the students that get them, I think it was at Summit View or Lowell. I can't remember which one. Lowell.
They wear them
had
all
a
day.
picture of the cafeteria, every single student wearing these chef hats. And it's the most popular one every year. They love wearing these paper chef hats.
Those of you who toured Appleton saw the Appleton kids wearing it. We can't keep them on the shelf. They love the little chef hats.
Just fun little giveaways. And Mayor always says it's to break up the monotony. You get the same things over and over again. Same with the fuel program. It's cool every once in a while you get something, bring excitement into the kitchen and into the hot lunch program. Then I just wanted to touch on the community support that so far we've been doing. We made a $500 donation to the Jump with Jill event that was going on at Meadowbrook Elementary. The Celebration of Excellence event that was a couple Sundays ago, we made a $500 donation. We also donated the food and helped run the concession stand for that. We had hot dogs, we had soda, we had water, we had chips and cookies and lots of fun things. And then pretty soon there's the Butler Run Walk event, and we're planning on doing the food and drink wellness station for that after the event's over, so people can get a fruit or a water with it. With also some activities for some kids. And Val, I can move the microphone over, but yeah.
Yeah. So I joined the school district's wellness committee, so I've been going to the meetings, and this year we're really talking about the definition of wellness for students and staff to move forward with different initiatives next year. So that's been really great to be part of the wellness committee here.
And then the other thing is in the last month, we were able to get on the agenda for a couple PTOs in the district. We went to Meadowbrook and presented there. And then we actually, sorry, we weren't presenting the PTO tonight anymore. That was a couple weeks ago that I put that in there. But we presented the PTO at Prairie, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I can't remember, yeah. So just, it's nice for parents to be able to have, ask us the questions. Sometimes they're scared to call or email or whatever it is. They had us there. They had a bunch of questions about how, the changes and things that are happening in the schools, how we can improve certain things that might not always be going perfectly, and came up with some good ideas with the parents. So that's where I think. Yeah.
What did they want improved? What was their feedback?
At Prairie, it was mostly at Prairie. This is the first year Prairie Elementary has been doing where they sign up for the meals, or the students sign up the day before what entree they want for hot lunch the next day. And there was some miscommunications between that message throughout the school. And so what was happening is sometimes we run out of a certain item because we would make what our number was, and we run out of that item, and then we'd have unhappy students, and it happened a couple times, and we didn't realize that their communication wasn't there. So that was one thing that we're going to improve, and we're going to send home. And so that was something we didn't know, that the parents didn't know, or the students didn't know they were supposed to be signing up. So that was probably the main concern. And they had nutrition questions that we answered. There wasn't really any concerns, but
It wasn't that the food wasn't good.
Oh, no.
there was nothing about the food really at all. It was mostly line speed, which is every school is always going to have that question, and then running out of entrees at the end of lunch. We always have something available to them, but it was on a couple occasions a student would. And the thing is, if at Prairie at 4th and 5th graders have the last lunch, so it's always the same class of students, or the same students that. If we were to run out, and so they think they're getting picked on, and so you got concerned parents. So we've
They lost a lot of weight this year.
right.
Or they learn to like vegetables or
Yeah,
something.
that's right, yeah.
And we have an electronic menu program now called Prima. So we study our production records, and we look at the weather, we look at how many students there were and the ADA, so we try to fine tune it. However, if you have something that's new, and we do change up our menu, it can go faster than perhaps the end. So that's a great attempt to try to fix
Yeah,
it.
and I actually served lunch at Prairie last Tuesday, I believe, because one of our employees was sick, and it was perfect. We had like 3 of each entree left over at the end of the day, and I was working with the employee that she's been there forever, and she just kind of they've been doing this menu now. It's March, and it's a 5-week cycle, so even if we didn't have any counts, she kind of just knows. Hey, the last 3 times we had this, we did 90 of these or 92 of these. So we just kind of know, and she'll get her counts and she'll pad it. If it seems low, she'll just know, okay, maybe a class forgot to send in their numbers or students forgot to sign up. So we're always pretty close. If it's maybe a student that doesn't get it, that's the worst thing ever. But it's only, and she assured me it's only happened a couple times. The thing is, those couple times, it happens to like the same student or, whoever's the last one in line. So, but I think we've solved that. And I know that's not the only school that's ever had an issue in the district, but that's the only time the parents, brought it up at a meeting.
And you can just give them a free chef hat or something to make them feel better.
Yeah.
One other thing on their menu that I had never really thought about, Aramark's offerings right now are in some ways still being driven by our previous vendor because they made the commodities orders. If you remember the timing, the commodities orders had to be made before we had the decision.
Yeah.
So they're still guiding a lot of the offerings at the school. So really next year will be the first time we'll see Aramark and all they can do.
Yep, the commodity order was just due on Friday, so I just finished that. So we'll probably have a little bit of carryover yet from some food, but one of the things that we talked about when we talked is we have a lot of blueberries, and we're doing blueberry parfaits on the elementary menu once a week, and it's probably our most popular. I mean, we make 1,200 parfaits on every.
So if you do get a call on blueberries, it's what was ordered in last year's.
Yeah, we have blueberries
so
on the
healthy,
breakfast
it's good.
and lunch.
They're
menu.
great for you.
Oh, they're great for you, yeah.
Yeah, but the students are getting sick of them. But we have blueberries coming out of our ears.
No, they'll miss them when they're gone.
It's a good
Yeah, well, we can still, we'll still be able to buy them, but yeah.
You're just tired of them yourself.
I'm tired of, unloading the huge truck of blueberries every month, but yeah.
It's not the worst item that you can have too much
No.
of. I think that's it. As always, we appreciate your partnership, and we've really appreciated the candor of the student, the faculty, and the administrators. Anytime we come up with an idea, these guys are at the heartbeat of it all, but we truly appreciate it.
So were you involved in the project that we just approved for South? Did you review that?
Yeah, actually, in a neat way. Darren involved us early on, and our architects, who are the guys that I work with out of Philadelphia, our design group, stood silently behind, and we've got the first draft of the design, and they, using an electronic CAD program, overwrote and wrote margins or in the margins to talk about areas that we felt could be moved or situated. So yeah, that's a great plan of a space in a relatively confined area. It was funny, your questions, similar to taking the easement, looking at the hallway, those were all things we thought of, but you're confined. And I think that space will just be so much more enjoyable and to feature food in, as well as for students to go through. Because now when you see a line on just two separate lines, you kind of go the other way and run off to the Pick and Save to grab a sandwich, and we're hoping that, that'll be us.
Well, I guess the one thing that, from an administrative point of view, that kind of concerns me is we've made good progress at a couple of the elementaries where we have free lunch. And it seems like the focus is a little bit more towards the higher levels than. But I think our middle schools and our elementaries should get a focus level should shift a little bit more to those going forward, because I think our danger in open enrollment losses are not in our secondary schools, they're in our elementary and our middle schools. So we want to make sure we provide services that maybe our competition can't provide.
Yeah, and we've had, I'll just use Les Paul as an example. We've probably knocked ideas or tried to come up with ideas, because that one's very, speaking of confinement, trying to come up with a better mouse. So we have had those conversations, and, based on where our fund balance position is in Fund 50, I foresee us doing some serious work next year as well. Maybe not on the scale of South, but I think there is some resources there to address some of those schools. The thing at the elementaries is a lot of them are confined too, because some of those buildings weren't even designed to have a food service program in originally. But with those funds, you can't add square footage, so we have to strike a balance, and I think another year with Aramark being in our buildings will help in that process as well.
But even
Our marketing director toured the buildings this past week, and actually Les Paul was one of the areas she was focusing on for carts and grab and goes and ways to, because that's a maze as well, to try to attract. In your elementaries, it is on our radar, all of us being nutrition-founded folks, to try to enhance breakfast participation, even where you have a high-paid student, so that student as well is learning ready and academically prepared. So, most of your kitchens, although I've seen much, much worse in terms of space design, but most of your kitchens have at least the complement of appropriate equipment to be able to serve, and that's our target.
Well, it seems to me like in your room breakfasts could be done pretty much in any elementary school, as long as you have the ability to offer the food.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the breakfast in the classroom is, but we try to, my goodness, you're my dream in terms of where I'd like to go. But the intrusion on the academic time, your teacher's contract, how that all flows into your buildings is something that we consider as well, but we'd love that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what we did today was proof of concept type of activities, so, by the end of this year, we'll even some expansion yet this year probably, but we'll have some data to make some better decisions off of.
I do think that, what I know about Les Paul is that there's a significant opportunity to increase utilization, at least on the breakfast side of the equation there, because I don't think enough kids take advantage of the breakfast.
Yep, and we actually have a meeting with Mr. Bennett next Tuesday.
so-
So Val was at the health and wellness meeting last Tuesday or a week ago.
Yeah.
And it came up that a lot of the students are going to the health room in between start of school and lunch because they're hungry. So we have some ideas we're going to bounce off Mr. Bennett doing grab and go breakfast, and what we could do is every single student at Les Paul comes in the morning, I think basically comes into the cafeteria, and they walk right past that little hallway where we have like a lunch serving line. Just having a little breakfast cart there, or even setting up the line as a grab and go and they could take it, if the students are coming late on the bus or they're just late to school in general, we could set up like a point of sale there where the students on their way to classroom or on their way to the locker could grab a breakfast. But we want to, work with the schools. Is that something we want to do? Is where they're going to eat in the classroom, or they let them eat in the hallways, that sort of things. There's always some kind of the things that we want to work with maintenance and with the administration before we make any changes.
Well, you'd think something like, as long as you have the heat, as long as you can put hot to the food, because most of your grab and go is cold, right?
Right.
So like at South, or at Les Paul, you could actually do a warm breakfast burrito. And I think that'd go over very well.
Right, and we do, and that is on the regular menu, and is probably once every 4 weeks. We do a hot one there, a hot breakfast there, anyways. But if it was like a grab and go hot, we would love to do that. We have the ability to do that. It would just be working with maintenance. Do they want to have hot food going on the way into the classroom? I'm not sure.
The quickest,
I think as long as you control the temperatures, just warm is all you're looking for a burrito.
yeah, we have to keep it at 140 to hold it, so it is warm. But most of the grab and goes, we start cold intentionally so as to minimize trash, and then we grow into that warm sandwich or a warm burrito or even, other options like that.
Maintenance had concern with those type of food items and the trash and the waste and potential for rodent issues. So they were starting out slow to try to address those issues and see how much additional waste we are creating for their team.
But you're dead on. These guys were on it from the point of view of that cart idea in strategically placed, because they all walk in. It's a big flood of kids that pass the cafeteria.
Right, and our intention is whatever we come up with at Les Paul, because Butler and Horning, it's the same thing. The students come into the cafeteria, and then that's where they're dropped off on the bus. That's where they come in. Working with those schools too, after we kind of maybe trial something at Les Paul and putting a cart or whatever it is in the main hallway where the students kind of filter to for their lockers or whatever.
Butler and Horning have a perfect,
It's
that
right there.
large area again, like North has, and
Yeah, and our breakfasts are higher at both of those schools than they are at Les Paul, just because when they walk in, the breakfast is right there. They can just they know about it. Where Les Paul is just kind of tucked away, and they have to kind of walk around to go get it. So that's kind of the solutions we want to try to come up with, is how to make that more marketable to them.
Any other questions? I have a rule for F&F, I don't go past 3 hours for a meeting, so.
Okay, we're done
Yeah.
there.
Any other questions, though? We do have time for more questions.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
thank you guys.
I figure an F&F chairman's not very good if he goes past 3 hours. We used to have an F&F chairman that went 3-4 hours at a time. So.
Who you looking at? Oh, is that Dan Warren?
Okay, next action item, or information item, monthly budget update.
I only have 15 minutes for this?
You have 10.
Or 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 is gonna be about it.
I'm not giving you the full 15, you have 10.
I'll keep it very short and sweet because there really isn't anything outstanding this month. Everything's right on target with where we're at every year generally for salaries, benefits, all of our different expenditure items. The revenues are starting to come in now as far as we fixed our issues with WISE grants, and we're getting our grant revenue in on a regular basis. So the money's coming in, money's going out, but it's all at the same pace that we normally do. Our tax, our February tax payments came in, and we are right on target at 74.9% of our taxes collected compared to 74.5 last year. So unless you want me to go through the detail of each one of these.
Does anybody
there's
want to have any
nothing
questions on the details? We do
Yeah.
have an extra 10 minutes here to use.
There's nothing outstanding that really would require a lot of discussion. Nothing unique. But I'm
Well-
happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Stack? You sure, Karen? No? Okay, well, thank you very much. With that, I would say no further business is done for today. Meeting's adjourned.